Cool. We're live. Awesome.
It'll take a minute for people to start filtering.
Right.
So if you guys want to start with like some small talk or whatever.
Right.
You have to jump right in.
All right. So how you doing today, Stacy?
I'm doing good. We had a lot of stuff canceled. Some kinds of rain. Some kinds of lighting got fucked up. You know, it's producing, baby.
Right.
Yep.
Live events.
I did one interview 3 times. That was cool.
Nice.
We did worse on the 3rd time. The first take, I think, was the best.
That's
always,
usually the case, yeah.
like, is that a good thing or not? Like, should you feel good about doing it best on the first time, or should you be like...
Because if you're a live streamer, probably that's the better way. Mm-hmm. But if you're like someone, I guess, who's like an actor and used to doing multiple takes, you probably don't want your last take to be
wasted all that time.
Right. You probably don't want the last take to be the worst.
And the first one was the best in the first place.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So.
Yeah. But, you know, people are probably coming in on the channel now. So we might as well start as if people are watching. So I'm Matt Binder. This is on the Progressive Victory YouTube channel, and I'm here with Stacy K. And Stacy, people who might not know who you are, why don't you let people know a little bit about yourself?
So I am a comedian, I'm a model, and I'm an advocate. And I'm from Kansas City, and I'm transgender. I'm also in New York all the time, which is why I'm here. But I don't know, maybe you've seen me do unhinged tweets on Twitter, you know. That's me.
All right. So, I mean, you're basically a New Yorker is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
As much as most people are, I suppose.
Yep. I mean, I would say, I don't want to put a number on it, but at least half people who live in New York are from somewhere else. So I mean,
oh yeah, at least. I mean, and you know, I'm in comedy, and pretty much everybody who does comedy in New York is not from here. There's a few people that were just fucking like they were born on third base, you know.
Right.
Because everything in comedy goes through New York City. So if you were just like born here, you got like parents at least vaguely tied to the industry. You're so lucky.
All right, so I don't have parents tied to the industry, but what you're saying is, I will be on at least maybe like second base as a born and raised New Yorker.
If you started doing comedy tomorrow, well, I mean, you've already got a lot of followers and stuff, so you would already have a huge leg up on most people, even if you sucked. So you could just right out of the gate, you could get spots you don't deserve.
I'll be contacting the Comedy Cellar tonight.
Not the Comedy Cellar. They're very. That's the Yankees. Like,
right.
They are very selective. I've never done.
I got to start with the Mets, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who would definitely put you up. You know, they don't even have to see material. So.
Oh, there we go.
But like the real serious ones, you definitely got to be good. Like they're not gonna let you go up at the Cellar. I mean, you could do the open mic at the Cellar if you stay there till like 2 a.m. and get up there and buy some drinks and stuff.
All right, so we'll have to talk after,
right,
so I get all the details on how I can start my stand-up career.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Don't. This is for mentally ill people, okay?
Right.
I'm assuming you don't have those.
Right. Well, we are streamers. So
okay, yeah, I forgot.
There's something wrong with us. Something's not right.
That makes sense.
But no, we're. This is maybe the worst segue in the world to go into this now. But we're here to support Jamaal Bowman.
Vote on Tuesday, right? Tuesday,
yeah, June 25th.
June 25th.
Yeah.
Get out there.
If you're a soccer fan, make sure you vote early because Argentina, Chile at MetLife Stadium that night in the Copa America.
Oh, nice.
So you want to, get the voting in so you can watch the game.
Are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there with my kid. Yeah.
Who are you cheering for?
He's a big Messi fan, so Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, it'll be nice to see if Chile wanted to be a huge upset because Argentina is like the soccer team to beat.
Still?
So yeah. I mean, they're the World Cup champs. It's the same team. Yeah, they are. And Messi's going to be playing. So yeah.
Nice. I don't know shit about soccer except for my Hispanic friends tell me about it, but you know.
Right. No, I mean, my son, he's 8 years old. He's super into it right now because you'd be amazed that this is the sport that the youth of America are. Progressives got. The multicultural ideology stuck in these kids' heads that they no longer care about basketball and baseball and football.
They don't care about basketball anymore?
Not as much as, in at least this particular age group, these 8 and 9-year-old kids because I coach my son's soccer team. Mm-hmm. So these kids are all about soccer right now. And all of their friends, soccer's number one. I'm not saying they don't care about the other sports, but soccer's number one. So any right-winger who happens to come across this channel, I'm sorry, but progressives weren't on this space. America is coming back when it comes to, well, we never were there, but America is finally getting into soccer
So
with
you
the
really,
youth of today.
You really think we're gonna America's gonna start caring about soccer?
They will, even though our soccer team will continue to suck because we don't put the money into it yet.
Right, yeah.
But yes, the kids are caring about soccer.
I mean, I played soccer back whenever I was little. It's hard to play basketball when you're 8. Like that ball is too big
Right.
to get it. Nobody wants to learn how to dribble and stuff. And in soccer, I don't know. I'm sure you're playing like your kid is actually like good at. I played like terrible. I was like a good soccer player, but most of it is just like a mob of kids running up and down the field.
Yes,
right?
at that age, it's the beginning of them not doing that anymore. They
Right.
actually
They
play
actually,
their
like,
positions.
spread out and
Yes,
pass and-
they still revert to their old ways sometimes, and that's when you got to remind them. But yes, I mean, what really did it is Messi and Argentina won the World Cup, and then Major League Soccer, which is like America's soccer league, MLS did the impossible and convinced Messi to come over here.
He's in playing in. Is it Miami?
Inter Miami, yep. He's in Miami, yep.
I heard the tickets for those games are insane.
Every game is like selling out, and the
That's
kids are
nuts.
absolutely making up a large part of that audience.
Kids got money these days.
I mean, they're making I could assure you, they're making their parents. They're dragging their parents out to the games. Yes, but yeah, I mean, typically, soccer when it comes to like. You don't traditionally think of leftists in sports, but when you do, soccer has been like the sport that had that crossover.
Soccer is the leftist
Soccer
sport?
is the leftist sport, yes. That and pro wrestling, yes.
I feel like it wasn't that way. Wrestling, like 10, 15 years ago.
No,
but now
wrestling-
it seems like everybody who likes wrestling is just like gay,
Yes, because what happened is the nostalgia factor kicked in. Because people are the wrestling audience that grew up on like Hulkamania and the Ultimate Warrior and Jake the Snake Roberts and all these guys from the late 80s, early 90s during like the wrestling boom. They got old and fell into that age of nostalgia.
Right.
And a lot of those people, because of like the theatrics of it all, they grew up to be leftists. You don't usually think of like, oh, theater. Clearly they're going to be right-wingers. I mean, wrestling is very theatrical.
There he is,
So, they grew up and they got into looking at wrestling as nostalgia. And some of those guys even got into wrestling themselves. And a lot of, like, the current modern pro wrestlers.
Like Logan Paul, right?
Not Logan Paul.
Jake Paul.
No, Logan Paul is in it, but
Is
he's
it?
not the example I'm giving here.
Okay, right.
There are guys who are very progressive, who are pro wrestlers on WWE, and they espouse these beliefs on air sometimes.
Who is the biggest left-wing wrestler?
I would say right now it's one of 3 people. CM Punk, who has had on air given pro-trans rights speeches before.
Oh, nice.
You have Brian Danielson, who's a huge like vegan, and then Sami Zayn, who has Syrian background. He's the current Intercontinental Champion, and he's been very pro-Palestine.
Okay. So you got what? The first one is pro-trans, the second one is vegan, and then the third one is geopolitics. So
Yes,
that's-
there you go. Yeah.
All right, nice.
So yeah, it's been the executives, the upper echelon, obviously, the backstage, the business side of it is still obviously very right wing. The former owner of WWE, Vince McMahon.
R.I.P.
He is he's still alive, but R.I.P. in every other way though, because of the various things that have come out about him.
Allegations.
Yes.
He's not beating him.
Yes, he's not beating them. I mean, this is a guy who's very good friends with Donald Trump. So, that world, business-wise, is still, like all businesses usually are when you're up in big corporations.
I mean, they don't like taxes.
They don't like taxes, so they might pretend to like social issues because they know their consumer base cares about social justice issues, but when it comes down to it, they want to make as much money as possible. Those people, probably not. You're not going to see them on the picket lines and the pro-progressive campaign trails, but the wrestlers, a lot of them are very progressive now, so it's really cool to see. The audience is actually of all the sports, there was a survey that came out, and of all the American sports, wrestling has one of the most, it was liberal or conservative, the question, but they are one of the more liberal fan bases.
What's the breakdown? What's the split there?
It's
I don't 60-40?
No, I don't remember the split. It was on like a graph that showed like it put each sport like like the
Oh, is esports up there?
every sport. The most conservative sport is golf, no surprise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The most liberal is women's basketball, no surprise.
Yeah, bunch of lesbians.
Yeah, but wrestling, it has one of the more progressive fan bases, but at the same time, they also have one of the least politically active fan bases. So we got to get, if we
could just get the wrestling vote out,
yes,
we could control politics.
right, the world will be a lot different, at least in the United States.
We really
yes.
should have The Rock run for president.
No, we shouldn't, because he's not one of those. He's not one of those
frame
guys.
it that way.
He's not one of the guys I'm talking about. No, he
His
actually
politics are pretty quiet, right?
he endorsed Biden in 2020.
Yeah.
He has since come out and said he is not making an
he
endorsement.
says he's not doing shit, but that just
And that
means
his-
he wants Biden to win. Come on.
No, but he also said that his endorsement was a mistake, and that this whole wokeness stuff is too much.
Well, okay, yeah, I guess
So
I can't
the
defend
Rock's
that.
not a good example.
So you're saying I shouldn't watch Moana too?
Should have not? Well, it's good. I will say this: we don't.
I'll see the reviews first
We
before I go see
don't
it.
want to piss off the Disney adults because they actually are more progressive. So let's keep
They're
the
more
Disney
progressive
adults.
than wrestling fans.
They're up there, I think, probably, yeah. So let's keep the Disney adults happy.
Are
You
Disney
can-
adults historically progressive?
I mean, based on what I see out there, they seem like they support Star Wars, and we all know Star Wars has gone woke. And
It really has. It's gotten out of control. They changed Kiadi Mundy's birthday. That's crazy.
right, I mean, it is unbelievable what's going on. And there is, this is a great sort of segue to talk about this. Like, there is this overall cultural sort of backlash against the way things have been going, at least online. I do think when you look more broadly to people who aren't super online or in these political or cultural bubbles, like the average American who has to go to a 9-to-5 for a living and isn't online, terminally online all the time, I think they don't care. But when it comes to like the discourse and the people who do drive these conversations, I do think there is a blowback that's happened. I think a lot of it is post 2020 with the lockdowns and pandemic, which drove a lot of people insane. I think this is still ongoing from that, but like we do see these weird cultural backlashes against something as simple as like a black main character.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, a woman as a strong main character. LGBTQ plus representation on shows. It is, it's bizarre to see. How do you feel about that? Especially as a trans person, like how do you view this?
It's
especially
frustrating.
bad when it comes for trans.
It's
issues.
frustrating because a lot of the stuff that right-wingers get real upset about, like they don't like the new Star Wars or whatever, I agree with them. But I think it's because it's bad, Like the LGBT shit just happened to be in there. And the media itself is bad. And so I want to be like, yeah, you're right. Disney is fucking Star Wars up. And then I hear their criticisms of it and why they think Disney is fucking Star Wars up. I'm like, no, I just think that Rise of Skywalker was trash, all right? I like The Last Jedi, actually. But hearing the unhinged opinions of Star Wars fans in particular is really funny because they're acting like Star Wars was ever good, Like,
Right, oh, yeah.
I mean, I liked it a lot as a kid. I lived off of Episode 1. Darth Maul was so cool.
Oh, my
But,
least favorite of all the Star Wars. Well,
I mean, it's a bad
other
movie.
than Rise of Skywalker, which I don't consider in the. There's actually 8 Star Wars movies. There's some other one that's out there that pretends to be Episode 9.
If you watch Episode 1 and turn the dialogue off,
Right.
I think it's one of the best Star Wars movies.
If you watch Episode 9 and then immediately watch Episode 1, you come to appreciate
I have
Episode
not
1.
watched Episode 9. I watched Jenny Nicholson's video on it. And I just they brought Palpatine back, which is the lamest possible thing you can do because
They brought it back on a.
On
They
a
broke
Fortnite?
the news on a Fortnite event.
that's
yes.
crazy. And I love The Last Jedi. Actually, there's about 45 minutes of that movie that I would have liked to cut out because it was just a really long movie.
Yeah.
And I felt like they crammed in some stuff they didn't need. But I think that the stuff it did right was some of the best.
I mean,
Star Wars
everything
shit
Rose
I've ever
and
seen.
everything Rose and Finn did could just go,
You
right?
could probably
Pointless,
trash
absolutely
most of it.
pointless.
I didn't really like the Salt Planet at all. Like if you just cut that part out, and I think that the climax of the movie is the throne room fight scene, which is like the coolest fight scene I've ever seen in Star Wars stuff. And I think that they should have kind of ended the movie around Kylo propositioning Rey, and there's some tension there. But then they went on for 45 minutes after that, whatever. And then when I found out Rise of Skywalker, they were just throwing away everything they did in The Last Jedi. I didn't want to see it. And then I heard reviews about it, and my intuition was confirmed.
It's the only Star Wars movie I didn't see in theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not old enough to be around in 1977, but when they came out with the special editions, I did see all 3 of them in theaters, and then I saw the prequels in theaters, and then I saw episode 7 and 8 in theaters, and then 9 came around, and I heard all the things, and I was like, I'll catch that one later.
Right. Sad what they did to Star Wars, man.
Right. But, you're right. And the funny thing is that, the issue that people have with these movies is really the writing. And the reason the writing is bad, or the bad parts in the movies, the badly written parts, are often because of non-creative executive decisions made by the
Marketing
business people,
stuff.
made by the corporations, made by the Bob Igers, for example, CEO of Disney, which if you actually care about these things, the critique that you should have really does line up with a lot of progressive and leftist critique, because this is the business side of things, the executives coming in and saying,
trying to mass appeal, let's water down the script, let's
Right.
make it boring, let's never do
Right.
anything interesting.
Right, because the same people who wrote the Star Wars things that you like, they didn't go anywhere, or if they did, the people who took their place are also fans of what came before them. So it's not like they hate Star Wars. No, if there's something in the new movies you like, they wrote it. If there's something you don't like, it was an executive decision made up top that forced them to change things.
Sometimes I wonder if executives, if they put LGBT representation and stuff into a piece of media and then they just let it suck, because it turns into a culture war thing, and people will watch it just because. And I wonder if they just don't really give a shit about the stuff they put us in, because
I almost think that gives them too much credit to think that far ahead.
Right-wingers don't make me defend Disney, okay? I don't want to be here doing this.
Right.
But you guys' criticism of it is terrible.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to criticize Disney about, yes. None of it is because they made a Jedi say something that made someone feel represented in a marginalized community or something.
How dare they cast a trans actress in I haven't seen Acolyte yet, but that's really what it is. It's just culture war shit about why these right-wingers are so upset at it.
Yeah, if you think about it, the best Star Wars movie to come out under Disney, Rogue One. Strong female lead.
No, Last Jedi.
Rogue One.
Last Jedi.
Rogue One's the best of the. Are we gonna go at it right now?
None of these characters. The only character I felt anything about when he died was the robot. Okay.
Oh, Robot was good.
Everybody else in that, and it had good set pieces and fun things, but just the script of it, it was. You
didn't like the blind dude? He was great. I loved him.
I hated him.
He was awesome.
I'm
one with the Force is with me.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, but what was so great about that, storyline-wise, is it shows that, because I don't think people considered this. When the Jedi were destroyed, it wasn't a thing anymore, obviously people who had the Force or were Force adjacent still existed.
Right.
They just didn't have anywhere to channel that with.
I do think that he was an interesting concept.
So we got to see what happens to someone who would have been a Jedi if the Jedi existed, and what he does with himself.
I just think that for Rogue One, they took for granted that we would care about all of these characters, and
I care about them.
You liked all of them. And listen, they show the guy at the beginning. He just murdered that dude in cold blood, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, this is like an anti-hero type guy. No, he just does good stuff the whole rest of the movie.
Right.
And they all, and then the ending of where Vader's killing everybody, which.
That's great. I think it's great.
I mean, it was a fun scene, but like as it works, and basically he's the bad guy, and they're making him seem so cool, like at the beginning, end of the movie.
Well,
but also he's like this super powerful dude who killed like 40. There's a ton of dudes in there, but he couldn't stop the thing from getting out.
Because it's Leia, it's his daughter.
He could have force pulled back whatever he needed to.
But this is great because it shows that look, we could debate about Star Wars without making it about wokeness.
Yeah, I mean that's cool.
This might be a first for YouTube.
I do think that Rogue One was like, it was like a pretty good movie. I'm not upset that I saw it. Like it wasn't complete trash. I really liked The Last Jedi, except for the Casino Planet can go and the Salt Planet can go. Otherwise, I think that's the best Star Wars. I need to do an edit of it to make it the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I think
ever.
I think you could pick and choose scenes and put them together. I mean, there's people who have their own way of the order they watch them in. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there you go.
What is that edit of? Is it Topher Grace who did the edit of the 3 prequels?
I don't
They
even know.
merged them all into a 2-hour movie.
Oh.
Episode 1. The movie starts with the Duel of the Fates, the Darth Maul thing. So it just skips all the bad part of episode 1.
That's the only episode 1 part. It makes sense.
And then most of it is Revenge of the Sith because Attack of the Clones was terrible.
Right.
So I watched that once. That was fun.
Well, Attack of the Clones does give us the scene with the 3 monsters in the stadium. That's a good scene.
I liked it as a kid.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that made it in the final cut, but.
Wait, is that Attack of the Clones? It is, right?
It is, yeah. And then Padme's shirt ripped open a little bit.
Right, which of course just perfectly rips to give her like a midriff.
She had great abs. I was like, I want abs like that.
Right. Yes. And then we got to see a young Boba Fett. Yeah.
That one I didn't care so much for.
I've always been a big Boba Fett guy.
I mean, listen, I thought Jango Fett was cool, but the cool thing about Boba Fett to me, introduced in Episode 5 is like. You don't really know very much about him.
Right, and now we know everything about him.
Now they made a whole show about him. And it was so cool that, like, Darth Vader, he's telling all the bounty hunters to go out and get Luke, and he's trying to get Luke, right? Or
wait,
Leia?
No. He's getting Han for Jabba.
Well, that was like a side thing. Like, Han just happened to be there. I thought the main objective was get...
For Boba Fett? Oh, right. When
he was telling all the bounty hunters what to get.
Right.
And then he turns to Boba Fett and says, no disintegration.
Right.
And that's
correct.
all you know about Boba Fett is that for some reason Darth Vader thought that it was important to tell Boba Fett in particular, no disintegrations. And in your mind, you're like, oh, shit, what has he done? Like, what cool...
Right.
And, he does some cool stuff, and he kind of just, like, leaves the movie after he captures Han Solo.
Right.
And, now, I haven't seen Book of Boba. I did try to watch Mandalorian, but I feel like the more lore they put into that helmet, the more it takes away from the mystique of it. Yeah, it's just lessons.
They didn't need to like connect Boba Fett to like the entire Star Wars Skywalker history before that. Like him being a child clone of his dad, and at the same time. I guess brother to every single clone trooper is too much.
George Lucas was like, all right, we made a character called Boba Fett that everyone loves.
So
Let's make it to where every single stormtrooper that was ever created is literally just Boba Fett. Let's do that.
Right, yeah. Oh my God, yes.
As a kid, though, I had so much fun with my Jango Fett toy character. Did you have that one where his gun would go into... and he had a little grappling hook that you could hook on to stuff, and his helmet could come off. That was like the coolest... everybody I knew had that toy. That was like the favorite Star Wars toy ever.
Right, but he wasn't as cool as his son, though. He wasn't as cool as Boba Fett. No.
I mean,
he gets... Spoiler alert, he gets beheaded. So, I mean...
And that's how Boba gets his helmet.
Right. And it's great because he got beheaded by Mace Windu. And by planning ahead, They gave us that scene later on where Mace Windu and Boba Fett come face to face. Oh no, wait, that didn't happen. They never, ever meet ever. I mean, you'd think you would at least
you
choose
think
a
you'd
choose
follow
a
up on
Jedi.
that a
Like,
little bit more.
it could have been Obi-Wan, which would have gave a little bit more history behind Obi trained Luke,
Don't
and
you
now
ever- don't you
Boba's
wish
going
that-
after Luke.
They hadn't just killed Mace Windu like immediately, like at the.
Well,
the
they did
fight.
make it. They did make it clear he was like the strongest Jedi. In that, if
Yeah, and then he would
if
just
Anakin
boom,
wasn't
he's
there,
done.
he would have defeated Palpatine. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I wanted to see more out of that dude before. I was disappointed in the fight from Palpatine. Like I didn't think that was a very fun. I don't know. Growing up, the Darth Maul fight was my favorite. That was the neatest fight. And then they kind of just like took him, and he just like killed all these Jedi like really quick, and then got stopped by Mace Windu. Like,
Right.
And then when he got distracted a little bit, he just flew him out the window, and that was the end of
Right.
Samuel L. Jackson. Though I heard he survives like in like extended universe, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think he wants to. I think he's been floating. Samuel Jackson's been floating that idea because he wants to play Mace Windu again.
Okay, right.
But I don't think it's possible for him to survive that.
Yeah. Who's that one character? The girl with she's not Ahsoka, but one of the Twilight characters
I know you're talking about.
who
She's
has
got
been
like
killed like 5 times.
think I know who you're talking
Five
about, yeah.
different times
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Star Wars lore.
Yeah.
That was fun.
yeah. I mean, Attack of the Clones. My favorite fight scene is Yoda and Count Dooku. I mean, that's.
That was like so much. Like Yoda's like flipping and moving so
That's
much that you
great.
can barely even process it.
Uh-huh.
And then also like if he's moving like that much and that fast, you would think he would just kill Count Dooku.
Well,
Like,
he
bam.
would have, but he had to save Anakin, and that's why Count Dooku
That's
does
true.
the
He put the
the
heat on them,
wall fall
whatever.
on them. Yeah, I mean,
I liked Anakin and Count Dooku's fight whenever they had the
Right.
two lightsabers.
I was in the movie theater opening night, midnight, for Attack of the Clones, and the theater erupted.
When he-
It was like a
lightsaber.
shared experience with Yoda and
You
Dooku.
finally got to see Yoda fight.
So maybe that's why I hold that fight in such high
It
regard.
was
because it
was
brings
so
me back to
hyped
that
up.
moment. Yeah.
If I tap into the nostalgia of it, watching Yoda fight was like something everybody had been waiting for forever. Which is funny because in the original movies he's a Muppet, like he's just
Right.
he's this weird old guy who can't
Well, he's
really
on-
do anything.
He's on
except-
death's doorstep at that point. I mean,
Yeah. And then seeing him all flipping around, that was fun. I always wondered about the other Yoda, the one with the Yordle, I think is their name.
Yaddle or Yaddle, yeah, something
yeah,
like that.
the
Yeah,
one with it's got hair or something like
she's
that.
got hair. That's what makes her
It's a girl?
That's what makes her a
Right.
female Yoda. She's got hair. Apparently.
I always wondered how she fought. And is that just how? What is Yoda's race?
They never say the name of his race. It's a mystery.
Oh really?
I don't think they ever named the race.
I don't believe
Yoda's race.
there's got to be some book that.
I don't think they ever named Yoda's race.
That's not.
That's why Grogu was just called Baby Yoda because there is no race.
No, he's not called Baby Yoda. He's called. What is it? What is the?
No, Grogu. I said, yeah. That's the name.
That's the name of it. Is
yeah,
Grogu?
Yeah, but that's
What's
why
the other term for it? It's like the young
the child.
one?
The child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's why they had the child, Baby Yoda, because they never named Yoda's alien race. They never did. It has no name. We don't know. I don't even think we even know what planet they come from.
Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe there's another moon of Endor out there that.
They'll make one up.
Yeah. But I mean, getting back, I guess, to how we segued into this. Like, I feel like what you said, like it does feel like at times that like just using this representation in things like Star Wars, and then when something fails, they use it as a culture war thing so they can get more viewers. Or what I think is actually the case is I think what you said is too smart for them. What I think is they actually use that to defend themselves.
Yeah, I
like
think that too.
like it's not even so much like, oh, we'll create a debate around it so that more people watch, because that would actually
Don't
be
you
smart.
like this, you fucking queers?
Yeah.
We put you in the movie.
No, I think it's the other way around, where it's the people who are critiquing it
And they're like, oh,
are
we
just
put,
actually doing it because of the representation issue.
Well, yeah.
It's not because of the writing.
Yeah.
It's not because of our decisions.
Yeah.
Because we know it all. We're right. We did the focus groups. We did we looked at it from the analytical business perspective. What would make us more money? How could that possibly fail?
Right. Have you seen The Acolyte?
I've not, no.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either yet, so I can't really say whether or not it's good. But I've not liked any of the Star Wars shows except for Andor. Andor I thought was really well done, but
Haven't seen it yet either. Yeah, I haven't watched. I don't think I've watched any of the Star
haven't
Wars
watched,
shows. No,
do you watch like TV in general?
I don't really watch TV too much. The last show I was really into was Game of Thrones, and then we saw. I mean, that's another thing though. Like, oh, what's up? 2 minutes? Yeah, sure. But that's another thing though. Like, and there was in the most recent one, the new Game of Thrones, House of Dragon.
Yeah.
There's this huge deal made about like, oh, there's a black Game of Thrones family. There's
And they're like, that's not realistic.
the Valerians, yeah. But it's like if you actually read the books, it's not completely like. And the funny thing is, House of Dragon is the one Game of Thrones show of the ones they made and the ones they're floating. It's the one story that's actually fully written. It's the one.
Oh, it's finished?
It's the one George R. Martin Game of Thrones series that has a beginning, middle, and an end.
How many seasons are there going to be?
I don't know actually. I'm not sure.
So they're not books that have been released?
No, it's like the earlier stuff. It's like what happens in like
It's the
100
prequels.
years before. I believe it's 100 years before like
The Game of
the
Thrones.
Game of Thrones happens.
Before they play the game.
Yes, and you know and that's the reason they made it into a show. They're not gonna make the same mistake they made where they went with source material that wasn't finished.
And then they just
But,
guessed.
but then they're gonna have to figure out what to do for the future Game of Thrones series because they're back to square one. But like the cultural war thing is so fucking ludicrous when the issue is once again like with Game of Thrones, what was the problem with that final season? It was that the two guys who were making the show, funny enough, Disney went into business with them to have them do a Star Wars movie, and they were like, "Oh, we gotta fucking wrap this Game of Thrones shit up and start working on that Disney movie." Because we want to do a Star Wars
Wait,
movie.
which Star Wars movie they do?
They ended up falling apart. It never
Really?
happened. Yeah. So Game of Thrones got ruined, so they can make a Star Wars movie
Is-
that never got made.
Is Ryan Johnson getting any more? I heard he was getting a trilogy.
I heard that too.
Unrelated?
I have no
Did
idea.
that fall apart? I feel like
It
things
might
are
have.
good.
It might have. Yeah.
That's sad. 'Cause, you know, he did
did Last
episode 8,
Jedi,
and that
yeah.
was my favorite.
I will say I was a
That's
Last
stuff.
Jedi hater when I first saw it.
Were you?
On second watch, I liked it a lot more. And then after seeing Rise of the Skywalker, I was like, Last Jedi is a great movie.
Last Jedi is the last Star Wars movie.
Yes, there was never one after. I respect that he made some leaps to
Yeah, he
really
made
try
some
something
actual
different.
risks.
Yes.
He changed some things about Star Wars, and I hadn't seen them do that in
Yeah.
forever.
I feel like you got to do it either you play it safe like Episode 7, but play it completely safe and just like
Episode 7 was like, I liked it, but it was too safe for me.
I liked it too, but you know what?
It was just a rehash of A New Hope. You know,
after
like,
watching Rise of Skywalker though, I was like,
You go back to it, it's like, this is so much better.
You either do Episode 7 or you do Episode 8. You don't do Episode 9.
Right.
All right. Well, this was really fun.
Yeah, it was great talking
It was
to you.
great
I
talking
love
to you.
talking about Star Wars with you. Let me
Yeah.
know anytime you want
Absolutely.
any Star Wars opinions from
Oh,
someone
great.
who barely watches the stuff. So,
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find you?
I'm Stacy K, STACYCAY, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram are my main things. And then if you check my bio, sometimes you'll see me performing like at the Stand in New York. Otherwise, I don't announce my shows.
Okay,
Say what?
cool.
We good?
Yeah, we'll be taking a few minute break and then we'll be back.
All right. See y'all. Thanks.
Don't look at the cameras.
All right, cool. All right, we are back on here. I'm Matt Binder here on the Progressive Victory YouTube channel, and joining me now is Jreg. There you go. Why don't you tell people who aren't familiar with you, which is ridiculous because we're on YouTube, and there are way more people familiar with you than there are with me. But for people who aren't familiar with you, tell them who you are.
I'm Jreg, and I do funny little videos on YouTube.com, sometimes about topics that are political. And politically, I'm an anti-centrist, which means I think we should destroy the status quo. And that's why I'm supporting Jamal.
I like to hear it.
Far left versus centrist. Smelly, stinky, dirty centrist.
I like to hear it.
Yeah.
So give me an example. Like, what's the most recent political video that you put up there?
I did a video about how anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, and I did it from the perspective of an anti-Semitic Zionist.
I like that a lot, actually, because it's a funny concept, but also there is this belief among some far right people in Israel
Yes.
that the Jewish people who died during the Holocaust were like weak, and that they wouldn't have it wouldn't have gone down the same way if they were there.
Yeah.
Sort of like what's his face? That actor Marky Mark with his 9/11 take, where if he was on the planes, 9/11 would have went down differently.
Yeah.
It's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah, but those kinds of hair-splitting beliefs, I mean, this is not a popular political perspective, but I just like the nicheness and the granularity and how weird thoughts can get, and that's like one example of that. It's also like...
No, but it's smart, because it shows something that's real. Like, that's a real... It's not even like like your version of it might be over the top, but it
Yeah.
is a real constituency
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, well, I was looking into the whole concept of like anti-Semitic Zionism, and it's I guess the concept is like go to Israel,
Right.
like
Yeah.
leave.
Right. So I'm guessing, based on like that most recent video that you put out, that like Jamaal Bowman's position on Israel and Palestine is a huge draw for why you
Yes.
decided to get involved here. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think that they're a force for the status quo in many ways, which are bad, and I don't like that. I think that the way things are need to change, and their influence should be stopped.
Right. So what about Jamaal Bowman? What part of that does he give for?
Well, he's one of the few people who is willing to take a stance
Right.
on that. And you can see that he's been canvassed incredibly hard against by a lot of money coming from somewhere, which is bad. And so I'm just here to show my support against that.
Right. So how have you used your YouTube audience? Because you have, how big's your channel?
500,000.
500,000. So you have 500,000 people who subscribe to you. Your videos get a lot of views. You're not one of those channels that like grew a subscriber base, disappeared, and then they come back and they only got like 1,000 views on their videos, even though they have all these subscribers. You have this huge audience. How have you used that audience to further, share and spread your political beliefs?
I try to create a big tent of people who can feel comfortable engaging with what I do, and so within those different tents, I allow for a little bit of autonomy. But I hope that we can find common ground in certain areas, like recognizing that bad things are happening in other places. For example, Palestine. That we should probably encourage a little less of, maybe even a lot less of. There's all kinds of people who think that there's bad things happening there, and if those people can all agree that there's bad things happening there, maybe we can like talk about it and push things forward.
Right.
In that way, yeah.
Now, when I was speaking with you earlier, you had mentioned that you are Canadian.
I am Canadian. I'm doing foreign election interference.
Foreign election interference. Well, to be fair, you are an officially registered foreign agent, though.
Yes.
So it is on the up and up. Everyone knows.
Yes, I'm an officially registered foreign agent. Yes.
There we
this,
go.
Yes.
Okay, so it is legit. No, but like, how much of America's politics, how much of that has bearing on what happens in Canada?
It's completely 100% has bearing. I didn't know I had Canadian politics until I was like 19.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought I was just an American guy. So yeah, America has a big influence, and anything that happens in America typically happens in Canada later. If you guys elect a right-wing populist, we'll elect a right-wing populist 5 years later.
I know where you're going with this. We're gonna have real problems in a couple of years.
We're
If
gonna
that's what you're saying.
yeah, we're gonna, yeah.
What's his name again?
Pierre Poilievre.
Pierre. Yeah. Ooh.
Oof, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the least of which for his stance on certain groups of people. Israel.
Ah.
Yeah.
It is really something that I think liberals, and I mean liberals like, people who are to the right of progressives or leftists, but still allies, people
Yeah.
who are, more normie Democrats. Like, I really do think there's a huge gap, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, between their understanding of the political ideologies that they hate, the Trumps, the Trump Republicans, the MAGA base, that they're really worried about because those people are against everything that they believe. How much of those people are aligned with Israel and its right-wing government, but also the other way around too, how much Israel and the right in Israel is aligned with Trump and MAGA and the far right. And that ability for them to not see the two as equal is going to be detrimental to them, because they are supporting a government and a country at this point that is firmly part of the global far right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, America number one. I gotta say, as a Canadian sucking up to Americans, that's what I gotta say. And so I think, I get it. America should just fund whatever they want to, as long as it helps their interest in some vague way, which I don't fully understand, but that's what I keep hearing.
Right.
I keep hearing it somehow helps their interest to
Well,
do all the things that they're doing.
Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East we hear all the time.
But here's my problem with centrist normie Democrats is, just be far right. I mean, if you're gonna why all these mental gymnastics? Or just pick a team.
Right.
Just go further left, further right.
The thing is, I think, I do think there is a large, like the people who are really into politics, like the normie establishment Dems who are very political, like the K-Hive and the Joe Biden stalwarts. I think they know where they stand on Israel. But I actually do think the vast majority of the Democratic base, just like the voters, they're just not in tune with it enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like once they understand just how much Netanyahu and Trump are the same. In fact, I think Netanyahu is even, if it's even possible, further to the right than Trump.
I think so as well.
That, hey, maybe we shouldn't be so supportive of Israel, as long as, at the very least, as long as they are controlled by this right-wing government. And in turn, honestly, it's not even just the government at this point. Israel's right-wing government's been in power for so long that the default for a lot of Israel's politics in general is right-wing. And, I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. Like, I usually say that, Israel right now is in the same place America was post 9/11, where George Bush had 98% approval rating. Any critique of him meant you were supported terrorists and you hated America. And I think that's where that country is. And it took the U.S. a long time to get out of that. But then at the same time, we never even really came to terms with what happened there. This country has never come to face with the rampant Islamophobia that came as a result of 9/11. In fact, because we never have, we're seeing a lot of it come back now. And do we see any of that in I'm assuming yes, because of what you just said about how America and Canada are so aligned. We see that in Canada, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it. We drink a lot more fluoride than you guys, so we don't do quite as much of that. But you do see that. I think all kinds of phobias are back on the menu. All kinds of phobias and antis. Yeah. I think anti-Semitism is back on the menu. I also think Islamophobia is back on the menu. I think being anti-whitey is back on the menu. I think there's a lot of things back on the menu.
Ooh, the right wing's eating good right now.
We're eating good. Many people are eating good. Yeah, but yeah, basically, I just look to what you guys are doing, and then I make a little calendar. And I say 5 years, I'll expect this to happen. And place my bets accordingly.
Let's talk about Pierre. What's his last name?
Poilievre?
Poilievre.
Yeah, French last name.
Right. That's
Ew.
why. That's why I don't know how to say it because we're
Gross.
still. Pierre Freedom is what we call him over here. Because,
Yeah, pure freedom.
Yeah, we replace all. Anytime you use the word French, use freedom instead.
Freedom. Yeah, I like that.
So tell me a bit about what we could expect from a Pierre Freedom. Like, again, we're in a situation sort of like you guys are in a situation like what we are. You got Biden, this sort of like centrist Dem who has been, when you look at, like, again, the bar is low, but when you look at recent presidents, has somehow on every issue but Palestine and Israel, has been probably one of the more progressive presidents in modern times.
Yes, it's true.
Even with him being this centrist Dem. And then we have this far-right demagogue in Trump.
Yes.
It sort of looks like that's the same thing over there with...
Yeah, we have Trudeau and Poilievre.
Right, so tell me a little bit about those dynamics there.
Trudeau is comparable to Biden. He represents a sort of neoliberal regime. And the opponent is someone who has kind of co-opted. We had the PPC, which was the further right party in Canada, and our Conservative Party ate up a lot of their votes by swinging further to the right. So our Conservative Party would run a lot of center-right candidates over and over again, milquetoast, boring, and then they have a new, more populist right-winger who like campaigns with the truckers, talks to the truckers. The question of how truly populist he is, I think I call him populish.
Right.
He's not quite a Trump character.
Right.
And in fact, he doesn't really have anything to say about something like immigration. And a lot of the people voting for him on the right are voting for him because they assume he has a take on immigration. He really doesn't. He's more of like a libertarian capitalist kind of deregulate everything sort of vibe. Although he does have some. He's got like an interesting concept where like he'll give you a certain number of houses you have to build. Our housing situation is horrific in Canada.
Oh, really? We don't have that problem here.
No, I know, but it's even worse. You'll have to take my word for it. It's I don't know how much. It's slightly worse probably. And yeah, there's some interesting like central planning stuff that he's proposed, but yeah, it's a fairly similar situation. I think a lot of I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn. A lot of Western places that you can make those parallels. Yeah.
Right. Now he had. I know of him. I know of him generally because I partake in political media. But the moment where he sort of crossed over to a more mainstream non-Canadian audience is that viral clip of him chomping on the apple.
Yes. Yeah. He's quite good at playing the media angle, right? So like he's all like no one in Canada, again because of the fluoride. They've got that glassy stare.
They didn't get the warnings from Alex Jones. That's
they didn't get the warnings from Alex Jones.
Okay.
Yeah, they got that glassy stare, and Poilievre is pretty capable of making good clips. And we have this thing called question period in Canada, which has historically been recorded. And at some point, politicians realized, oh, this is going on YouTube. I can make a scene of this, and then it's just a shit show, really.
Right.
It's just people going at it, and nothing really gets done, and no conversations really happen that are meaningful.
Right.
It's mostly just, Mr. Speaker, my opponent is a stupid dumb head, and then Trudeau's like, no, you're a stupid dumb head, and then they clip that, and Pierre gets a bajillion views.
Right.
Which is a good strat.
Right. I mean, it's again, the America and Canada might as well be the same country.
Yeah, I think you guys should annex us ASAP because coming here was a disaster at the border. Every time I go through this border to go to a country which is basically just the same as my country.
Right.
I don't want to get probed.
Except for the whole thing where you guys still recognize the king of England.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of a political spectrum there in Canada. Do you want to be more like America or more like England?
Right.
And the right-wingers tend to be more
English.
pro-England.
Yeah.
No, sorry, the right-wingers tend to be more pro-American, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because of the deregulation aspect and capitalism and such.
Right.
And we tend
and
to
the
be
left
more...
historically loves our monarchies.
See, that's... Okay, so this is actually a weird thing about Canadian politics, is, the left, like the liberals, are the most pro-monarchy. But it's
So weird.
I think there's a lot of ways you can spin that. I think one of the philosophical ways you spin that is like there's an appetite for authoritarianism within all of us, so we give all of our authoritarian desire to a useless king. And
But in America, that dynamic is, while there's no one here who's really like, hail the King of England, like the right would love for Trump
It's true.
to be a king.
It's true.
And the left here, even just like progressives or liberals, they in some ways maybe, but not as directly like, we want an authoritarian figure. Like, yeah, maybe they, some liberals and establishment Dems look at Biden as, don't criticize him, he's our president. But it's not the same where like, when Biden's time is up, they will be like, all right, farewell, Biden, on to the next. It's not like they're like, bring on Hunter. Like we want the president's family to reign.
I'm very excited about the prospect of them, grooming Donald Trump, Baron Trump, to be like the next Caesar.
Yeah, but that's what they want. They're ready for like, all right, there'll be a small period of time where either Don Jr. or Eric or maybe Ivanka, I can't remember. Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah, one of the. I can't remember which one's the mom, which one's the daughter ever.
Neither can he.
Yeah, but there'll be a small transition period where one of them's got to take over because Barron won't be ready.
Yeah.
But then it'll be Trump, someone temporary in the family, Barron.
Monarchy.
Yeah.
Monarchy.
Right.
That's what we call in the political compass world authoritarian right.
Yes.
The most authoritarian right you can get is monarchy. It's a concentration of power into a single individual and their bloodline.
Right.
I think people look at democracy and they see, this centrist Democrat wins and this right-winger wins. The centrist right is back and forth, back and forth. It's like, what if we just put a crown on one of these guys?
Right.
And then they could have some long-term planning, maybe they could get some stuff done. And I look at that and I say no, because I love democracy.
Right. And that's apparently rare.
Yeah.
In both the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah. I think democracy is going through a hard time right now. We were playing Jenga, and I was thinking, this is a lot like democracy.
Right. You pull one wrong Jenga block out, and it all collapses.
It all comes crumbling down. Yeah. Anyway, we're living in very illiberal times, I would say.
It's bad right now. I really do feel like, it is probably the roughest time in like modern politics, where like there was a progressive trend in something. Like even if we weren't winning on one topic or subject, there was another where we could put our time and effort into. But right now, I feel like everything's very stagnant because if not moving back on certain things, at least rhetorically, like for example, I really do think when it comes to our political media, the right is certainly winning when it comes to like their anti-LGBTQ campaigns right now.
Yeah.
And like it is a weird time. That's why like I really can't wait for like the November elections to just be over and done with.
Yeah.
Like obviously between Biden and Trump, I prefer Biden. But more than anything, I want it to just be over so we can finally, everyone can be ready for what comes next.
Yeah, I think it's time to move on from this. I did not want to see these guys go head to head again. I'm bored.
It's not even just boredom. It's like, I am bored too, but it's like, how are you supposed to like build upon something where no one wants to talk about anything but this one thing, the election?
Yeah.
And that election doesn't, it's not a policy issue. Like they're not running on policy.
No.
Policy does not matter.
They're running on who would I get a beer with?
In this one, it's not even. Usually it is.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's more like, for Democrats, it's democracy's on the line. Just the general idea of democracy. No specific.
It's on the line.
Yeah. And then for Republicans, it's the children and the culture. Trump must win so everything, progress stops and everything goes rightward.
Yeah.
It's again, no policy.
Yeah.
Because for them, it's not even about like any specific policy. It's about the overall culture. They care more. Like the last interview I had with Stacy K, we sort of got on this Star Wars tangent. Mm-hmm. But the reason we got there is because we were talking about how like the culture wars are drifting so rightward right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, the right cares more about those culture war issues than they do about any other real policy.
It's
right
true.
now.
It's true. It's completely motivated by culture issues, which is kind of interesting. You'd think that there'd be other things to talk about, but no, that's what they're.
Is that the same in Canada?
No. In Canada, the only guy making class arguments is pure Paulie Everett.
Really?
Everyone else is drinking the fluoride, and he's making class arguments from the right, and that's why he's so successful, is because he's actually talking about the economic issues that people are facing.
The thing is, like, with everything to say about Biden, the one thing he has continued to be good on is labor.
Interesting.
He just doesn't. He's just bad at messaging. Is it the same in Canada, where like the Trudeau and his party are actually good on labor but just bad at messaging, or they actually just suck?
I think they're bad at both.
Okay.
Yeah. But what are you excited for, like, post this election? What are you looking forward for?
Just for those sort of everyday Democrats to move past the idea of the election's the only thing that matters. Can't criticize Biden because that might make him lose to Trump.
Yeah.
Just them to be motivated like they were in 2016, how they were with Black Lives Matter in 2020.
Yeah.
For them to actually once again fight for something that's more than just our guy winning.
Yeah. It's kind of soul crushing and just, what more importantly, boring when you feel like you can't criticize the guy running because you want something better.
And the thing is, like, every leftist that I know, they're not criticizing Joe Biden because they want him to lose.
Yeah.
They're criticizing Joe Biden because they want him to do better. Like, I said it earlier, but I've been saying this since Joe Biden was elected. He has surprised me. Before October 7th, 2023, he had surprised me. Easily the most, again, bar is low, with that addendum there.
Yeah.
Easily the most progressive, modern U.S. president.
Yeah.
Even better than Obama.
Yeah.
And then October 7th happened, and it really hurt his stature among young people and progressives.
Yeah.
And it's not just this thing where it's like, oh, it's this war. It's not a war, but it's this war that's happening over in the Middle East. Why does it matter so much to progressives and leftists? Yeah. Well, it's because fundamentally, progressives and leftists believe that what happens somewhere, even outside of America, matters here, because we believe in intersectionality, in caring about other people,
and also because we gave them all those things that they're killing the people with.
And I was just gonna get there, and of course, the main thing is that we give them all this.
Yeah, I think it would be a better argument if we weren't giving them all the murder weapons.
I mean, it would not be an issue for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Like, the left would still care about it.
Yeah.
But it would not be a electoral issue for Joe Biden. It would not be an electoral issue for Jamaal Bowman.
Yeah.
It would just not be an issue in U.S. politics that matters electorally, because there would be no critique of the politicians.
Yeah. Do you think there'd be a split if that wasn't happening right now? Like, if we weren't funding them, there wouldn't be this big of a rupture in terms of this being an issue?
Well, I think it's a good question, actually. I do think it would still be an issue, but I don't think that, like, that Democratic base would care. So wouldn't that dynamic of don't criticize Joe Biden wouldn't be there, because they wouldn't care about the issue, because we wouldn't be criticizing Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Obviously, there would still be, AIPAC and far-right Israeli organizations that would want the U.S. to get involved and support Israel. But yeah, I do think the dynamics would be a lot different.
Yeah. I'm a criticism maximalist. I just like criticizing.
Right.
Doesn't matter who.
Right.
I just want to hate everything.
Right.
I just want to. My political spectrum that defines me the most isn't like, socialism versus capitalism or authoritarian versus libertarian. It's more pessimism versus optimism. I'm pessimaxed.
Right.
I'm pessimaxed.
See, I'm usually the optimist.
Really?
And this is the rare time period where, like, I'm telling my audience, everything sucks. There's nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
Like, how does your audience feel? Like, what have they said to you?
I cultivate as much pessimism as possible in my audience, because I'm trying to get them to hate the status quo and reality more broadly. So yeah, they're not doing too well. Yeah.
what is their sort of like when you put, upload videos, do streams or whatever, like what is the issue that they keep coming back to? Like what does your audience want you to cover? Like what has been the big policy for them?
The biggest
Or
policy.
big issue, even if it's not a policy, like even if it's cultural, yeah.
It's a good question. Well, first of all, they're kind of all over the place because there's all different sorts of political tribes out there that I try to appeal to. But I'd say the main one is getting me to wear cat ears.
Interesting.
No, I don't know. It's like it's so broad, and I'm not really that prescriptive.
Right.
I try to describe politics. Like I just try to describe where people are at and where the political tribes are at and where they're moving, and then you can do it. Like if I say like, fascism is on the rise, you can do whatever you want with that, but it's like that's just the truth.
Well, it does cultivate a specific type of audience, and then they interpret it in a certain way. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that that is something that's missing from the political discussion. Furries.
Yes.
We should remember that they're a constituency as well.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any politicians go for the furry though.
It's a major oversight.
Yeah. And what you have to watch out for is the right is very good at co-opting some left-wing signifiers. So if you see Trump wearing cat ears, be on the lookout because that could be the swing.
I mean, Trump has been all over the place lately. He used to be anti-crypto. Now because he's trying to get votes from anywhere, he's all of a sudden pro-crypto.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you could convince him that there was like a block of people with really specific beliefs, you would see him adopt that as a part of his identity, and that would be awesome.
He's ready. I mean, if someone tells him about furries and that there's an opening there,
Mr. Trump, have you heard about the furries? There's like millions of them, and they're a voting bloc, and they're undecided right now.
What would be hilarious is if Trump found that opportunity, and he was the one who decided to start putting litter boxes in public school bathrooms.
That would really come full circle. Okay, well. Thanks for having me.
No, this was great. So I guess one last thing.
Yeah.
You're out here, this Progressive Victory Jamaal Bowman canvassing event. What are you hoping to get out of it? You came here from Canada, registered foreign agent. Mm-hmm. What are you hoping to accomplish?
I am truthfully here because I don't know that much about politics.
That's great.
And I want to see how a campaign is run. I want to see what mobilizing volunteers is like. I've done political work in Canada. I've never done any political work in America, not real world political work. I think it's important to engage in reality. I think it's important to leave your house and make actual change. I'm also here to just hang out with my buddies who are with me from Toronto. I have a studio in Toronto, and they're with me. They came from that Internet Person studio, community there.
Cool.
Honestly, I'll do anything. If someone asks me, I'm high in agreeableness.
Hey, I mean, this is great. Listen, you don't have to be politically active. You don't have to know to come out and get politically active. I mean, look, I'm looking at your hat. I noticed for the first time it's a Hillary Clinton hat. We have a crossover voter here who, if he could vote, he's a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Oh, I've got some fraud plans.
Right, there you go.
I'm voting for Hillary.
Oh, well, there we go. Writing in Hillary.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm still with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jreg, thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I don't know who's next, but
yeah, I don't know either. But we'll be taking guests. This has been a lot of fun.
Hello.
All right, we're back here on the stream. Matt Binder on the Progressive Victory YouTube channel. And I am here with, you all know her probably as Twitch streamer Riverboat Jack.
That's me. Hello.
For people who don't know, which again, I feel so weird saying this with every guest who has like 1,000 times more subscribers than me, but let people know a little bit about yourself.
I'm a socialist. I am a trans lady. I use she, her pronouns. And I used to be a video game journalist, came up during Gamergate, wrote a bunch of stuff for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. I know that's weird. And then pivoted into streaming about politics. You know, the average route.
Right.
Yeah, into politics, yeah.
And now, Jack is joining me on this stream because she heard that we had a complete tangent talking about Star Wars. And so, of course, you had to jump in. But before we get to the culture war conversation,
yes,
I got to ask, what brings you out here for Jamaal Bowman? And again, I'm asking you as someone who is involved with Progressive Victory and helped to, put together this event. So tell me a little bit about it.
That's true. I probably should have mentioned I'm also involved with Progressive Victory. But yeah, I am heavily invested in showing that this place and this space can be capable of progressive change and like mobilizing ourselves beyond just talking about doing progressive politics and like critiquing conservative politics. I think we can do more. We can get out there. We can touch grass. And we can actually change the world for the better. And I think we can take all of these positive impulses we all seem to share and that bring us all together and actually do something useful with them outside of like, there are people who will be like, yes, just burn down the Walmart. And I'm like, you guys aren't actually doing anything useful. You're just saying that. You're virtue signaling. And I think we need to go out there and do tangible things that will move the bar towards a better future for all of us.
Right. I think you're onto something there. The corniness in me is thinking, touch grass. This is a organization that gets into grassroots canvassing. Maybe a potential touch grassroots slogan. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I'm a cornball.
You're putting it right down on the grass.
There you go. There you
okay.
go.
God damn it.
So we are here, and so you explain why, in general, you think it's important to get involved on a real grassroots level.
Yeah.
Physically going out there and doing what you can. Why Jamaal Bowman?
Well, Jamaal Bowman is. I know my temptation is to like focus on how bad his opponent is, because he's really bad. But Jamaal Bowman actually cares and has put forward legislation that could genuinely make a huge impact on people's lives. Things like universal child care, like with a sliding scale for people to pay, and most families would wind up paying I think it was $20 a month for child care, universal pre-K for schooling. There's just so many things that he puts forward that are just unambiguously good that we should do and we could do if we had more progressives in office. And one of the top ones that I really like, obviously Medicare for All, but there's also the Oligarch Act, where he proposed taxing people who make anywhere from 1,000 to 1 million times the median income of America. And that just seems like such a no-brainer to me. How can you even argue against that?
Right.
And because he's one of the few voices in Congress that are speaking out against the genocide in Gaza, and that's really important and really valuable. People need to be able to condemn that, and unfortunately in our current political system, that brings out the knives for you.
I mean, even just saying that is a huge deal. You have a complete political media sphere that just basically won't admit to something that even the UN is saying this is what this is.
Yeah, it's really kind of like living in bizarro world, where even the New York Times is starting to come around and reporting like atrocities, and people in positions of power like George Latimer, Jamaal Bowman's opponent, like won't even say the word Palestinian. They won't even like negatively talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, and like it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. It's I think indicative of like a certain rot in our politics that the sooner we excise and like embrace more progressive values, the better for all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in terms of the broader political landscape, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Outside this campaign, just more broad, we're in an election year. We got Biden, Trump in November.
I mean, Biden and Trump, it's not great. I don't feel great about that matchup. I feel like, honestly, like when it comes to our current political state, almost any other, even middle of the road Dem would have probably been a better choice to put up as a candidate. But we have to deal with what we're dealt with, and at least in some regards, like Biden has been okay when it comes to like labor. The NLRB has been a really big like source of victories under Biden. So that kind of maneuvering gives me hope, but there's also just so much messing around that gets me like, it's hard not to get a little doomer. But then I come to events like this and I help put together events like this, and I go, we're going to be okay. Because I see the enthusiasm that people have for making things better, and that's something that will never go away. And I think as long as we continue to foster that and continue to push people to make things better, I think eventually we'll get there.
Right. No, you're a lot more optimistic than, than me. No, but I agree. I agree.
I try and take hope in like what people are doing in real life outside their homes rather than what disaffected bureaucrats are doing in Washington. And I know
Right.
that can be, the disaffected bureaucrats wield a lot of power, but
Right.
like, you got to focus on what you can change for the
Right.
moment. And if we do that enough, I think we can change the bigger stuff too.
Right. Yeah, it does feel like, while it may feel like in certain areas we are, falling backward, like just taking steps back or whatever, and things aren't so great, it does feel like that is specifically a specific sort of thing that our political landscape has put together. Like the people who are really politically active are what's sort of driving the discourse here.
Yeah.
And like regular everyday people are actually much more aligned with a lot of our politics, a lot of what we believe. A lot of people just, there are people who have, for example, this right-wing attack right now that they, at least culturally, they seem to be on the upward swing with, is attacking LGBTQ plus people.
Yes.
Most people do not agree with that.
Yep.
Maybe they're not LGBTQ plus activists. Maybe they're not even showing up for Pride Parade. But in their everyday life, they have a friend who is gay. Mm-hmm. They have a child who is trans or non-binary. And all they want is for LGBTQ plus people to be treated the same as everybody else.
Yeah, I recently had an interaction that like really exemplified kind of what I think you're getting at here, which is like there was a guy who on Twitter was responding to one of my posts, and like I'm openly like a trans woman, and was like he just was like I don't agree with this and I don't support it. But I have a cousin who's gay, and I love them regardless of whether they're gay or they're asexual or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's like the most important part of like supporting like your LGBTQ friends and family.
Right.
Like he's like, but I don't want to go to Pride or wear the shirts. And I'm like, that's fine though. You don't have to.
We're going to force you. I'm sorry. We're coming to your house.
Make you go to the parade.
We're making a citizen's gay arrest, and we are forcing you to Pride. No, I mean,
we
absolutely.
are forcing you to be fabulous.
Like this is also the thing with like politics. Like I don't care what's in a politician's heart.
Yeah, exactly.
I care about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, listen, there have been politicians who very clearly, probably throughout history, probably racist. I mean, not even probably,
yeah.
we know they are, but when push came to shove, they're the ones who ended up being like, this is the way things are going, I'm supporting this legislation.
Yeah.
That's what I care about. I care about what you put out to others. So if you don't agree with LGBTQ plus people, like you said, but you think they should be able to live their lives the way they want and they should get to have the same rights as everybody else, then you know what? You're in the right place.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and that's the thing. I think, like you said, there are so many people where the well has been poisoned thoroughly, but even though that has been done by like tons and tons of like billionaire propaganda, you can dig down and you can find like these issues where like fundamentally like the material conditions that people find themselves in are dictating kind of what they actually believe. Like, you know, you might find like a lot of people who are like, I hate socialism, but then they're like, but I really want to be able to go to the doctor and not die under medical debt. You know, like, and at the end of the day, like, that I think wins out over any amount of propaganda, because that's what they have to deal with. You know, they're the ones who have to, at the end of the day, deal with like a parent like being ejected from a hospital because they don't have insurance, and like those things I think add up and make our like more progressive positions in a way almost inevitable. Like that's one of the things where like I think we will win eventually. It might not be soon, but I think it is an inevitable force.
right. I mean, messaging's like, you know, what you're basically saying is messaging's a huge part of that. Like, you know, it's important to basically meet people where they are and discuss things in a way that they understand. And I think that's what's important to do things like this, because a major part of politics in general is meeting people. And if you get a knock on your door and there's someone there ready to talk with you,
Yep.
you're going to sort of be moved by that more than any ad you see, any online post you see, because a real life person spoke to you and had a human interaction with you.
Yeah, it takes. I think there's like an animal part of our brain where we respond to someone who took the time and effort to come to us physically to let us know that this is an issue that is important. And like, we recognize that on some level. I think everybody does. And yeah, I just think that like this is where like the power of canvassing is. And I also think that this is where the power of letting people know that better is possible. You know, so many people get beaten over the head to believe that it's not possible to make things better, to believe that they don't have the power to change things, when in reality, changing something can be as simple as like knocking on a door to canvass, phone banking to tell someone, or it can really be that big of a game changer. You know, like we currently have like a small army of volunteers going door to door and like telling people how important it is to get involved in this Bowman race. And, you know, they might talk to one person at the door, but we know statistically, like if that one person is receptive to that message, like the rest of the household is likely to vote for Bowman. You know, like because that connection is so important, and because letting them know that this is an important issue that we can change really does make a difference. And I think, you know, maybe this is me being naive and optimistic, but I think if more people knew how big of an impact they could have, more people would get involved.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a great point. I mean, really, it shows people that it really, this is how people say every vote counts. Every single thing you do to get that vote counts as well. So I guess we could move a little bit more broadly now outside of organizing, because I know you wanted to talk about Star Wars. What is your feeling though about how, like, you know, I talked about how like it does feel like there is a rightward trend right now. We're in this moment where the right is having a resurgence, which isn't out of the blue. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
And we've come back from it before. So it's not like anyone who's feeling like, oh, it's over, it's
Yeah.
done. No, that's not the case.
No.
Things ebb and flow. That's how it works. But there's this sort of rightward trend with the culture, pop culture.
Yes.
And that does affect how people look at politics. Unfortunately, I don't think it should. And
Yeah.
people who are like, really politically active probably try to distance themselves from that. But I actually think that's a mistake. I think
Yeah.
they do influence each other. So what is your sense of that? Like these sort of pop cultural issues where movies or TV shows are failing because they're more representative now, and people don't want that. People don't want that. Everyone wants their Jedi to be straight white men.
I think that a lot of it is conservatism attempting to co-opt the failures of capital, or like the maybe if not the failures of capital, like the jankiness of capital trying to co-opt other things. Because really, at the end of the day, what they're pointing to when there's women, there's gays, there's transes. Really, what they're pointing to is like executives and CEOs and marketing people pointing out that like if they have a more diverse product, they can sell that product to more people. And they're not doing it out of any loyalty to like the gays. There's not like a secret cabal here, manufacturing this. And I know that there are some conservatives out there that do believe there is a secret cabal, but like at the end of the day, it's just the profit motive. And so a lot of how I view a lot of this conservative backlash is just conservatives identifying weird things about capitalism and trying to attribute it to nebulous, cultural issues to divert attention away from the fundamental issue, which is capital.
Right. Basically, their own pet peeves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect explanation of what's going on. 'Cause that is what's happening. They are unable to give political answers to political questions. So they bring in pop cultural issues and they pervert them and use them to their own advantage. And those are a lot easier to do that with than actual policy, because policy begets results.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? And they would rather talk about pop culture than they would about like you said, policy. Like it's an attempt to do it in a more removed way by focusing on pop culture, but at the end of the day, it's because they're running away from the fundamental issue that pervades all of it, which is capital. Like they just don't want to talk about it because at the end of the day, their bills are paid by billionaires, and they don't want to really reckon with the fact that like that might be fundamentally part of the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, and also even the ones who aren't particularly funded specifically by billionaires, there's an audience capture there.
Yes.
Where they've put together this audience of fervent right-wingers, and they need to speak to those people in order to get their super chats, in order to get their Patreon donations or whatever. And so they feel beholden to their audience. I'm not saying they don't agree with their audience, but their audience controls what they choose to cover and how they cover it.
Yeah. And I think there's also like a demographic of non-conservatives that consume that content, but it's largely like young people, like
Yes.
kids who are 12 to 16 years old who just like Star Wars, and they stumble across this rabbit hole, and they wind up not really out of like malice coming to these same conclusions, but more so like they just don't really have an ideology prior to that to like explain any of this.
I didn't like that Star Wars movie, but I don't quite know why I didn't like it. So I'm going to search on YouTube for some commentators. They assume they're going to come across like, a Star Wars aficionado site, but YouTube being YouTube suggests Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh or someone to them. and they watch that take without realizing they are consuming political content.
Yep.
And they go, oh, that's why I didn't like that Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And suddenly Kathleen Kennedy is like this big evil entity who has ruined Star Wars because she has an agenda to put women and like minorities in films.
I mean, she has an agenda. It's to make as much money as possible.
Right.
Right.
And that's one of the other things. Like, so many people are like, "Go woke, go broke" as like a tagline for these movies. Like, they've made like 4 or 5 times, maybe 3 times what they paid for the entire Star Wars franchise. They've made like billions of dollars. It's not an issue.
You can't use that with Disney.
No.
Like, it's just not, like, even when Disney fails, it's just because their movie didn't do as good as they had hoped for or expected.
Yeah.
Every Disney movie still makes hundreds of millions of dollars hand over fist. Like, it is insane.
Yeah.
Like, there's no such thing as go woke, go broke. If an asteroid was to hit this Earth and everything was destroyed, there would be 2 things left: cockroaches and Mickey Mouse. I mean, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Like, it's really, I feel a lot of pity for people who kind of get trapped in this conservative net of explanations, because it really is kind of like a gish gallop. They just throw everything at you, and whatever sticks, you know? And so you get like a lot of these kids coming up who just don't really have explanations for things. They just are really angry, and then it like kind of meshes with why it's hard for them to date, and like it all gets like glommed together into like, oh, you know, suddenly now you're watching like Andrew Tate because like, you know, Candace Owens, you know, you stumbled into her and she's propping up Andrew Tate or something like that. You know, this pipeline is very real, and it's been something I've seen play out. I was a game journalist during Gamergate, so like, really, to me, this is like seeing just like another cycle of that.
Right. And it's funny that you bring up Gamergate, a topic that I very much have history with as well. But the reason I say it's funny is because we are actually literally seeing a resurgence where a particular Gamergate adjacent guy, this, I forgot his name, like Grums or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, Grums, yeah.
He is having his big moment.
Yep.
Where he has become like the new face of like the angry conservative, quote unquote, gamer.
Yeah.
And it's like, even on that, we're sort of seeing this right-wing resurgence, where like video games are doing bad because they went woke. And I'm looking at these games where they went bad because they went woke, and it's like, woke means like there's a historical figure, a black samurai who actually existed in history, is in a video game now. That's what go woke means. I mean, we know that's what conservatives mean when they say it.
Yeah, like it really has become like that blatant. Like, oh, there's a black character, there's a woman, there is like a homosexual, there's a trans person, and like, it doesn't matter what the context is. It doesn't matter that in the context of like that Black Samurai video game, it's about like time traveling through genetic memory and like an eternal war between like 2 secret factions that have existed, descended from aliens. Like, it doesn't matter that that's the context, and like, you're taking away from this that like, oh, it's
not realistic enough. It's a black samurai.
It's crazy that there's a black samurai in this time travel alien game. Yeah, let's ignore the fact that in one of the games, like Leonardo da Vinci made you like assassin weapons. You know, like, it's just become a shorthand for complaining about like the presence of minorities, where maybe in the past, and I'm just granting maybe, that character would have been like just white, like all the characters would have been white, because like, having covered video games for a long time, they're still really white. Most of the roles are still white dudes, and it's not really, it's gotten a little bit better, but like that little bit better is perceived as like a huge cultural attack.
Right. Right. I mean, I will say it does seem very specific to what the intended audience is for a game or even a movie or TV show. Like, I would say I don't play too many video games nowadays, but I do play Fortnite with my son a lot. That's our game of choice.
That's cute.
But like, there's no this conversation, and Fortnite's like probably the most popular game imaginable right
yeah.
now. But there are no conversations about, and Fortnite has women characters,
Yeah.
black characters. These conversations aren't happening around that, and that's because like young kids are playing it and they don't fucking care. They
Yeah.
just don't care about these things, and not because like it doesn't mean anything to them. No, it's a non-issue to them because
Exactly.
it's normal for them
Yeah.
to see black people and girls doing things that they do because that is their experience in real life too.
Yeah, like a lot of kids are growing up and like their parents are gay or they have like gay friends and like it's a non-issue as opposed to like I think when you and I grew up like I don't know about you. I
grew up in New York City, so
Okay. I grew up in the Midwest and like I didn't know any gay people or at least, growing up I didn't think I knew any gay people and then like it turned out, actually there's one gay kid in my high school. Oh wait, now it's 10 years later. There was actually like 50 gay kids at my high school and oh wait, I'm gay. Like it's become now this next generation, they're just people. It's not like exceptional for like there to be a gay person or a trans person or like a black person. Like it's normal and I like that. That's good. It's healthy.
it's not even just that. It's reality. Like that's the thing. Like they want to live in a reality that maybe once existed for them, but it no longer exists today.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everywhere is like this, but clearly the people who are making this content are whether it be a game or a show, they're basing it on their lived experiences, even when it is fictional or even when it's sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's still seeped in a point they want to make through a lived experience.
Yeah.
And that's just representative of reality.
Yeah, it's and to that point, like that's why earlier I mentioned made those comments about like inevitability of like kind of a more progressive position because like that's where we're at. Reality is more progressive than where conservatives want it to be, and it requires building like an entire conservative bubble to exist in for now and all time. Because if it ever gets ruptured, the entire thing bursts.
Right. And the funny thing you say that is that I just saw a story today or yesterday, just over the past 24 hours, I saw a story of conservatives complaining that Wikipedia has gone woke. And listen, I could tell you from experience of talking with Wikipedia editors, one great Wikipedia editor, Molly White, is a great cryptocurrency critic. I interviewed her on my show numerous times. Wikipedia editors take their job super seriously. They don't get paid. To them, they are putting something out there that is truly important to history.
Yeah.
It is a resource that everybody uses. If you think Wikipedia is going woke, it's because it reflects reality. It reflects facts.
Yes.
And that must mean that you think that reality and facts are woke. Sure. And it's really that simple. Like, I mean, I saw a story. I don't know if it was related to the conservatives' criticisms. I didn't get to read the entire things when I was traveling here, but Wikipedia has decided that they can't use the ADL anymore
Oh yeah.
in their entries related to anti-Semitism, because the ADL is conflating events, anti-Semitic events, with anti-Zionist or even Zionist critiques.
Yeah.
And that is truly harmful in every which way. And the Wikipedia editors or board, whoever decided this, completely are well within their right, because it is truly dangerous to conflate those two.
Yeah.
Because it demeans actual anti-Semitism.
Well, and it, frankly, I think it diminishes what Judaism is. Like, Judaism isn't a state.
Right.
It's an idea, it's a belief system, and like to conflate those two things and say that people of this system must therefore support this state, I think that that's a very dangerous and I think that's a very dangerous thing to do for a
Right.
whole host of reasons.
Right. I mean, I've basically, my career has been covering the far right, white supremacists, neo-Nazis,
Yeah.
reactionary groups. I am well versed in and experiencing it myself as someone who has an ethnic Jewish background. I have been a target of multiple different people I've covered over the years. So I fully understand what it's like and what anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant and xenophobic and anti-black, anti-Latino, all these different forms of racism and sexism and misogyny and anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. I know what it looks like.
Yep.
And the idea for an organization that's respected to conflate those things when one side is oftentimes those groups that attack Zionist critique or anti-Zionism are the groups that align with those spreading anti-Semitism.
Yes.
It is they full-on align, ready to handshake and let bygones be bygones, the far-right Zionists, far-right in Israel,
Yep.
with fascists globally.
Yes.
I mean, we see it with Milei in Argentina.
Yep.
We see it with Trump here in the U.S. and the Republican Party in the U.S. We saw it with Bolsonaro in Brazil. We see it with Orban in Hungary.
Yep.
This is a global project where the far right has aligned with Israel because Israel, as it is today, is run by a far right government, and they've been so for so long that the country as a whole is aligned with these fascists. Not everybody, obviously, but
The dominant
the
political
dominant
force.
political force. Yes.
Yeah, it is worrisome, but I think at the end of the day, and very dangerous. It's unsustainable. Like, that level of hatred is not something that can win, and I think that really the path forward is stuff like this, connecting with our
Absolutely.
communities, connecting with people who are outside of our bubbles, connecting with people who are different from us, who have different beliefs, but we're all united by like this fundamental need to coexist with each other. And
it's not even just coexist. It's truly fighting for the same ideals.
Yeah.
Whether you are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, non-believer, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever. And it's great to be here. And thank you so much for everything you've done to first of all invite me and bring me on board, but for everything else that you've put together.
well, it's been a delight talking with you.
Riverboat Jack, everybody, and it almost feels weird to not end this with me rating you on Twitch.
Well, I'm sure we'll do this again sometime.
Awesome, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Matt Bender.
Thank you. And we're going to take another short break, and we'll be back in a little bit. All right, Matt Binder here, back on the Progressive Victory YouTube channel, and I'm here with Sam from We're in Hell.
Hell yeah.
And I gotta say, that's like the perfect name for a YouTube channel, at least especially in this day and age.
Yeah. No, it's I'm trying not to be a doomer, but yeah, like literally every video I like deep dive into some political issue, and it ends with me being really depressed. Like,
my like podcast, like the podcast version I put out is called, the title of it's Doomed.
yeah.
And it's not doomer content. It just covers the specific things that, and I'm usually an optimist about things, but I really do feel like we're in hell right now.
Yeah, no, it's oh, yeah. I'm a loud talker. I'm new to the. I'm new to
hold
holding
it like to your chest, like this.
I got you. Yeah. I'm used to going full lapel, so this is good.
Yeah, this thing is heavy.
Yeah.
So that's why we're not clipping
No,
it
it's
to our
so-
shirt.
yeah.
If we had a shirt that would, like a button-up shirt, would have been perfect.
I get why the Zoomers on TikTok always hold them now. It makes sense.
Vosh was smart for wearing a button-up shirt. Because,
Yeah. Not me. No, I like to.
I
play
don't
it
think
loose.
I don't think I own any button-up shirts.
Yeah, I started trying to be like, I want to look a little bit like an adult. It's not working well.
It's
Yeah.
maybe we got to try the bowler hat or something.
Yeah, definitely. I think we could bring back the fedora. I think that
No,
there needs to be
no.
a lot. I think there needs to be a lot of just like people, like cool guys like us, just like very sincerely wearing fedoras and like not acting like it's a bit. Don't act like it's like funny. Just going in, just right into that. You know.
Right. So what there's no segue from
Yeah.
that.
No, for sure.
What brings you out here today?
I mean, I was asked to. But, yeah.
That's the obvious. I mean, I think we
Yeah,
were all
yeah.
asked to. Maybe there is someone here who just barged in without an
Yeah,
invitation.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure. Well, I'll have to find out.
That's the person I want on this stream.
Right,
That
yes,
person
yeah.
is gonna be deranged. I like that. Yeah, no, I heard about this and yeah, obviously wanted to like help out. It's wild to like just find it. Like what really struck me was like I watched like one of the debates and there were so many issues that were just so like local issues that like I don't know anything about. Like it's like a sewage treatment plant or something, and it's like why. It's so weird that like we have to care about this because of like so much money coming into this from APAC that it's like heated up to become this elevated thing when like it doesn't seem like it should be that at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. It's it's a bizarre sort of thing that House representatives have to deal with, and I think it's sort of odd because these are like the issue, sewage issue, like that's something for state and local politicians.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, members of the House, they go and vote on like national issues.
Right.
Like there is this idea that, and I think this is sort of harmful to everyday voters, that they would be going to yes, these politicians are involved with bringing back money to the community. But again, a lot of these local planning issues are for local and state politics.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't understand where each politician is, who's responsible for what.
Yeah.
Like for example,
I mean, I'm gonna say I am Canadian, so I fully don't understand who's responsible for what.
I think a great example is for a very long time, and I think most people would think this. It's a little bit less now because so much has been made out of it. But for a very long time, most people assumed that in New York City, public transportation, the MTA, was controlled by the mayor.
Right.
That is not the case at all.
Okay.
The governor of New York makes the decisions for the MTA.
Okay. So
The mayor of New York has literally nothing to do with the MTA.
that's wild.
That is why.
Is that how it works in other cities, or is this just New York?
I just know New York and
Okay,
it comes to
yeah,
that,
yeah.
But people assume that the MTA runs mostly in New York City. You would think that's what.
Obviously, yeah.
But no, the governor is. That's why New York State Governor Kathy Hochul was able to make that decision to cancel congestion pricing in Manhattan. This was basically a move to charge drivers, car owners, when they come into Lower Manhattan, below 60th Street, you get charged $15, and that the hope was that
I love this.
they could raise money for
Yeah.
the MTA to put it into making the public transit system better, and also make Manhattan a little bit healthier, because the assumption is, yeah, maybe less people will drive it.
Yeah.
She, after supporting it for years, outright, just weeks before it was supposed to go into effect this month, said we're not doing it. Just made the decision, didn't even tell people, certain people. Like, they were literally emails coming out from like the MTA, like how to prepare for congestion pricing, after she already made the announcement that it wasn't happening.
Jesus.
And the mayor, no, I'm not saying Eric Adams would have done anything differently because he's a horrible mayor, but if like a Bill, from my understanding, would have been supportive of this idea, he could have done nothing to reverse this.
Right.
Even though it's a thing that affects
Yeah.
New York City and not the rest of New York
No, that's
State.
crazy. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. And so, like, I guess, like, yeah, like, just like everywhere else gets to essentially vote on, state
Right.
of, like,
So when it comes to like local issues, the idea that it would take up so much time, like local issues broadly, sure, but like specific things, like this is a house race.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
would you bring up to Biden or Trump during the presidential debate what's going on with sanitation? I mean,
yeah. Jesus.
right.
Yeah.
So does something like that happen in Canada?
I mean, yeah, like in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, like I'm from Toronto, where there's like amalgamation. So like the surrounding, like Toronto is now like there's the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, and so like neighboring like the suburbs are now part of the city in a way where generally the way that like or like you probably know about our famous mayor Rob Ford, R.I.P. But he like the reason he won was because he appealed to the suburbs, which like basically on a sort of like culture war-y sort of like resentment towards downtown, and essentially you have like sort of these outer areas able to like vote in elections to like affect the policy for just like downtown areas, and it sucks, it's garbage, and because like obviously their priorities are not going to be the same, and
Right. So with like this, the current politics in Canada, would a candidate like we're here for Jamaal Bowman? Would a candidate who the AIPAC's coming after him because of his position on Israel Palestine, would a candidate who came out like that forcefully for Palestinians be affected in?
I mean, I imagine, probably. I don't know. Like, there's not been many Canadian politicians, or any really that I'm aware of, that have like been coming out like against Israel in any like meaningful way.
Right.
Even like our mayor, Olivia Chow, who was like the progressive option. We have like a progressive mayor now for the first progressive mayor for the first time in. Like the last two mayors were both like pretty conservative, and now and like even she has been like condemning any of the protests, like claiming that they're like illegal, which is straight up untrue, and like she's the wife of the late Jack Layton, who's the head of the NDP, the essentially like Doc Dem party in Canada, who went to the Supreme Court of Canada to fight to make it so that no protest needs a permit, and then she has then gone on to say like, oh, the like pro-Palestine protests are permitted, which is wild for her to say. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. But essentially, like I have not really. I imagine that AIPAC would, or equivalent organization would absolutely come after any Canadian politician that did that.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if AIPAC did get involved.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't have to know because all of them are horrifically pro-Israel.
I mean, is it a function of they feel inclined to get involved because Canada isn't as conductive to what Israel is doing as?
In some ways, but I honestly, I don't know. Like I should be more aware of this. I try and go to plenty of the protests, but mostly for there's there's obviously an encampment at U of T, which is the university.
Is it still there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, they're going strong. I know someone who just graduated, and when you graduate, they you shake the president of the university's hand. She gave him a letter that's said blood on your hands.
Wow.
So badass. But yeah, no, it's literally graduations just happened, and there's a massive encampment with Palestinian flags outside, which rules so hard. But yeah, they're their big goal has been trying to get the university divest and sever ties with Israeli universities, and I don't know, the Toronto police are very brutalized protesters. I've seen it many times, but I mean, yeah, they are still going, but yeah, it is. Yeah, it feels to me that it is not something to be threatened. It feels like there's most politicians have been completely with supporting the cops and supporting Israel. So yeah, I guess that answers your question. But
No,
yeah,
I had Jreg on before.
Yeah.
Talked a lot about politics in Canada and what brought him out here to get involved with this. Also, I believe you are also officially registered as a foreign agent, just like he is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're on the up and up again.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Absolutely.
So what? So would you say you just it's obvious. It almost feels silly to ask, but American politics clearly has a huge function in
I tend to go by. I think Zizek had the line that American politics obviously impacts us so much. I like Zizek's take that everyone in the world should vote in the American elections except for Americans. I think that would honestly make the world a much better place.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it would have been the same vote.
Yeah. I mean, the system works. This is proof. It obviously has massive spillover just in terms of it's such a weird thing. Most Canadians follow American politics at least as closely as Canadian politics, but it's as a sport for us instead of as reality. But yeah, no, it's we're the little brother who's just up there who's just watching, and it's it's bad.
Right. Yes. Speaking of Canada, how about them Oilers? What?
No, you
Canadian who doesn't?
I'm sorry, man. I make video essays. I don't leave my house. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm sorry, dude.
Oh, sorry, everybody. We're messing with the mics.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. Yeah. All right, perfect. Yeah.
Cool. It feels so weird to not be like I'm in a punk band on stage, doing the.
No, I'm used to doing stand up, and
So, Canadian. That's not a hockey fan.
We exist.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm at a loss for words.
I'm sorry. Yeah. No. Yeah. You'll have. Me and I think Jreg too are about as equally
I'll be
uninterested in
honest.
sports.
Not only aren't you just a Canadian, you actually look like a hockey fan. your style, the hat, the hair, the stash.
Yeah.
You look like a quintessential Canadian hockey guy. Oh my God.
I'm so sorry to disappoint you. Yeah, no, we did not send anyone who is into hockey at all.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Well, there goes half of this interview. No. So what? In terms of you coming out here, is it something that is specific to this moment in time? It feels like maybe what I'm asking is would you have come out just a few years ago? It feels like we're in a crossroads here.
Yeah, well,
where it's all hands on deck, right?
Yeah, it absolutely feels that way. I mean, it also I don't know what I really like that about sort of progressive victory and just this whole thing has been just how sort of I don't know Big Tent it is in terms of I don't know. Yeah, I guess focusing on electoral politics in a way that feels very effective, or hopefully at least. I don't know. I feel hopefully it is like an all hands on deck thing. I've definitely like had like tons of people in my audience who are like upset that I'm like involved in electoral politics, which I don't know if like you've had like anything similar. Like I don't know. I tend to have the take of like we have like as regular people just have so little political capital that it's stupid to leave any of it on the table, and so like vote and do all the other stuff.
Right, yeah,
But,
I'm not a fan of the idea of electoral politics. Like, yes, politics isn't all electoral.
Yeah.
And there's more to just life in
Yeah.
general than electoral politics in terms of affecting change.
Yeah.
But who are you expecting to pass laws if you're not going to get
Yeah.
involved at some point with electoral
Like,
politics?
I agree with most criticisms of electoral politics, but
Right.
like also like yeah, like if you don't think voting changes anything, not voting definitely does.
Right,
But,
like,
yeah.
like how we, you guys over there got universal health care. How do we expect to get to get Medicare for all or something similar?
Yeah.
If it's not going to, if we don't have politicians in office,
Dude,
who
I'm
will
fucking
make it
like,
happen?
how scared should I be? So like, my girlfriend really wanted me to get insurance for this weekend, and like I didn't. So like, I'm like no net here. How fucked am I? Like,
Well-
can you like walk? Because like my mind is like, if I like get hurt, yeah, you just go to the hospital. Like, obviously that's fucked, but like, it's not. You don't pay for that.
This
like,
is my suggestion.
walk me through what.
If you get injured,
Yeah.
let's say God forbid something
Yeah.
happens, you get injured. I would go back to Canada and pretend you got hurt there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in 2020 stopped covering like travel insurance by like our like provincial health insurance plan. So
So
yeah.
like if you leave today with a broken leg,
yeah.
just
Just
you know,
walk it off.
walk
it off all the
carry-
way back to yeah.
If it gets detached from you somehow, just carry it around until
Okay.
you get back home.
Perfect. Yeah.
And then go to the hospital and say, oh, I fell down the stairs at home.
It is like I hate when people like do the like Canada's so great and we're so because like we have so many problems and it's like I hate when people like whitewash over it, but it's at the same time like I know like people who are like conservatives and stuff who like I like hang out with who are like conservative there is like basically Biden supporter, you know?
Right. I mean, I guess one good thing you could do is that being that you're like you don't live here, you don't pay.
Yeah.
You ready,
Yeah, what are they gonna do?
Come get you in Canada? I mean, we don't have
They
any,
might.
We don't have any extradition laws in Canada.
They wouldn't do that, would they? They can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
No,
You guys are afraid of us, right?
I remember hearing.
You guys would never.
I remember hearing Trudeau in a recent speech saying the American regime must be dismantled and destroyed.
Yeah.
He would never send someone over.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, like it.
Yeah.
It is amazing though. Like we are so close, Canada and the U.S., and there are so many similarities. But when it comes to like things like healthcare, so far away and distant.
Yeah.
Do Canadians hear about these things in America and like think
we're
we're crazy?
Yeah. No, like that is like one thing that like Canadians are like, just like pretty universally like extremely proud of our healthcare system, kind of to a fault in ways where it's like we compare it like during like the worst parts of like COVID, like when like there's like no vaccines and like there's like tons of deaths. We were like, there are press conferences where they're like, well, America's doing this badly instead. And it's like, okay, sure, we're still fucked though.
Right.
Like we like only compare our healthcare system to America rather than like
We were your
Europe.
scapegoat.
Like our healthcare doesn't cover anything in your head. So like psychology or like,
mental health care.
mental health care, drugs, glasses, teeth, ears.
So what do you guys do for? You have to get dental insurance.
Yeah, you
things
just
like
have to pay for that. Yeah.
Okay,
Like
interesting. I always-
and we're just like, well, it's better than the States. So
Well,
yeah.
here you go. That's
Yeah.
it's where we have equal footing.
Yeah.
It has always been amazing to me that like you go, healthcare covers all bones.
Yeah.
Except for the ones in your mouth.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Those are the only bones that people see.
Yeah, why is that? Doesn't make any sense. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm not saying dentists aren't important, but I
Yeah.
feel like maybe they should be sort of
Yeah.
wrapped up in everything.
I'm
Like,
saying that they're so important that they should be wrapped up in
Like,
everything.
Yeah, like
else.
I don't have to get foot doctor insurance.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
under the normal health
Yeah.
care.
No, it's fucked.
I didn't know that about Canada.
Yeah.
Man.
No, we have like a weird patchwork that like
Wow.
again we're able to get away with because of you guys. So like this is also one of the things
I
where
did-
it's like
this
anytime
is-
you guys like I'm rooting for you guys
Wow.
not just because it's like sports to me, but like I want you guys to be so good that we can't use you you as an excuse anymore.
This is fascinating.
This is
I
the-
really
yeah.
did not realize that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
amazing. Wow.
No, if you get better healthcare for us, we have to like top you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, ooh, this is.
Yeah.
So Canada's just be putting all their money into supporting Medicare for all in the states.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's where the campaigning should
Yeah,
be
this
going.
is that'd be the most effective use.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the Canadians should have registered and been like Bernie Sanders' APAC
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2020. I mean,
Yeah. We absolutely should have.
like
yeah.
I'm trying to throw the word Canada in there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Doing the
fuck,
thing with the
sorry.
mic
Yeah.
again. Oh my
yeah,
god.
no, this is bad.
It is.
We started having fun. We raised the mic.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, this is what happens when you deal with people who do live events.
Yeah, yeah.
They're used to holding up the mic like.
No, this is
not
insane to
good.
me, yeah.
This is not good. But this is an amazing thing that I did not realize.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe I feel like it may be something that I've heard through passing, but it never really hit me
Yeah.
until this conversation. So like, what would it take for?
I mean, like this also this applies for like everything, like social issues too. Like we have like there's like racism and stuff in like Canada too. It's like takes on a bit of a different character, but like it's like a very much directed towards like indigenous people, like as well as like
right.
black people and like as well. But
Are French Canadians treated differently?
yeah, well French Canadians. Yes, but it's like more that like in Quebec they hate Anglophones, which honestly I think they deserve that. They can do that. Like Quebec is really racist towards like Muslims and stuff too, but like yeah. But sorry, this is all to say though that like we again with like our like racism with like so many of our social issues we just like write it off as like Americans are worse though. So like if you guys like improve on any of these things, like think about it, you're not just helping yourselves, you're also helping all Canadians too.
Right,
because
well,
we
the rest of
can't
the world
use
did a
you
lot
as
of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm imagining like.
I'm sure you guys are mainly thinking about that when you make your like.
Right. Well, how can we help Canada?
How does
right.
this affect Canada?
Oh,
That
yeah,
is, you guys
right,
think
right.
about us a lot, right? Like
Right,
you think
right,
about us
right,
as
right.
much as we think about you. That's how
Yeah,
that works.
right. Yeah, that's
Oh, okay,
of course,
cool.
Right,
I was
yeah.
worried.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that Bret the Hitman Hart is one of the best professional wrestlers of all time. He's
There you
Canadian.
go. Yeah.
So I think about Canada every time I think of pro wrestling.
Exactly.
There you
Perfect.
go.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love this new character I have in my head of the racist French Canadian. I mean,
it's a very much a thing.
Like someone saying something incredibly racist, just going like ha 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 ha.
Yeah. They do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So like this sort of this is a good to get back to my conversation before with Jreg.
Yeah.
I don't.
He's fine with that pronunciation.
I remember
yeah.
him saying that, so
Yeah.
I'll use them all.
Yeah.
We were talking about.
No, the way you can really piss him off is like being really apologetic that you called
Right,
him one.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Jay.
Yeah.
But we were talking before about Pierre Freedom.
Yeah.
Because his name is very French. And
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
America,
yeah.
we anything in French is freedom now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That was yeah.
Yeah, Paulia.
So he seems to sort of, I guess that's his constituency, right? That's who his voter base is.
Oh yeah, no, like I mean the thing is like I don't know, so many Canadian elections it's very much about getting rid of the current person. Like I think like that's very much how like Trudeau got in originally was like people were very sick of 10 years of Stephen Harper and people are pretty sick of Trudeau now. So we don't know in the next election.
How long has Trudeau been in?
Since 2015. So
It felt like longer, honestly.
yeah.
I feel like he's been around for.
Oh yeah, it's been a long.
How many terms? How long could they serve for? There's
No limit.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, we also don't have like set times. Like so like Trudeau's been pushing back the election. So like which is a normal thing that the prime minister is allowed to do.
That comes from like the parliamentary system in,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
UK.
yeah.
But in the UK, I feel like something goes on there. I feel like they call elections all the time.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh, I mean there's like a coalition because they know basically I assume that conservatives are going to win when there's elections, so they have a coalition to to hold off on an election as long as possible.
There's no law or rule that requires an election by a certain time.
Not that I'm not the expert on this, but not that I'm aware of. No, and like yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Maybe it's for the best that we're not like Canada in those aspects.
so, like, the
Could you
nice-
imagine Trump having to call an election?
I mean, okay, but here's the nice thing. That is true. But also, the one nice thing is that we don't have, like, election years. So, like, you guys have, like, the year of the election. It's just, like, all, like, campaigning. We don't have that. We don't have, like, it's, like, election time. Like, we know, like, when one's coming up-ish. But it's just sort of, yeah. So you can't just have like all the the entire media cycle be dominated completely by that. And yeah.
Right. So We're in Hell is your
Yeah.
YouTube channel. Someone wants to go check it out. What's the latest? What could they expect to see in terms of latest content?
So I made sort of a name for myself by I make fun of like bad reality shows and then tie that into like a sociological concept. I studied sociology when I was in university. So like for example, there's a show on Netflix called Stay Here. Have you ever seen this?
I've not. No.
So it's a home renovation show, right? Except there's a little twist. All the houses on the show will never be lived in. They will only be rented out on Airbnb. It's one of the most demonic shows I've ever seen. It's so bad.
Who owns the house?
It's just like it's someone who like bought it as their investment property and then they're renovating
So
it
it's
and
a
then they're turning it
show.
into like a
So
ghost hotel.
So it's a show that helps landlords.
Yes.
That's the most bizarre.
Not just
concept.
landlords, Airbnb landlords. Like landlords at least like provide housing in some way. I mean, they don't provide it, but you know what I mean, right? Like, in a way that's different than an Airbnb.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
about to turn French Canadian for a second. I don't know about that.
They don't provide it, but they do. They all like there is housing when there's apartments.
Right.
This is not even housing. This is just like
Right.
short-term rentals, which
Right.
is the worst thing
I
imaginable.
mean, usually the housing show is the one like benefit, like the house renovation show is like, oh, they're helping out some like family.
The family
just
will
start-
literally be like, "This place is dope. I want to live here." Anyway, I use that as a way to talk about how Airbnb hurts cities. So like stuff like that. I actually just finished doing reality shows because it's been driving me insane by doing it.
You know what? It's probably better
yeah.
than everything else going on.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm doing weird shit now. I'm like my last like non-reality show video to give you an idea of the different direction is more. I do a history of Area 51, and also I calculate the U.S. military's black budget for fiscal year 2024. It's around 95 billion. That's what's on their
That'll
books.
change.
Like, I mean, yeah. Well, no, like the NSA's budget is fully classified, so we don't even know
Right.
that. There's like so many things. The Snowden leaks confirm that they regularly, like, anytime there's a bill, by the way, they can just, the CIA is allowed to add random line items to it, and that's just a secret military project that says it's just like tractors.
So where can people find it? Give people the link or
Yeah.
whatever.
Check out my YouTube channel, We're in Hell, on YouTube, and yeah, that video is called "The Dark Geography of Area 51." But yeah, you can also check out reality show content. There's a lot of that, and
There
it's
we go.
very fun.
All right, Sam, with We're in Hell.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thanks
It
so
was
much.
great.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, take another break here. We'll be back in a little bit.
Peace out.
Cool.
Just let me know when you're on. All right, cool. We're live. Awesome. Matt Binder back here on the Progressive Victory YouTube channel, and I am here with rapper and community activist Marcus Payne.
How's it going? What's up, man?
It's so great to have you here. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. This is a great day. We here for a great reason, you know?
Right. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself first to start off, and then we'll talk about why you're here.
No problem. So my name is Marcus Payne. You know, I'm a community activist. I'm also a lobbyist. I run a dad group in the Bronx called Bronx Fathers Taking Action. Shout out to them, you know, BX. You know, we also do stuff with the Dad Gang. They just did a March of Dads in LA. So we really try to galvanize fathers and make sure that they have a active role in the lives of their families and children and the community as a whole.
I love that, actually. We could talk a lot about that because I am the rare sort of leftist media streamer who also has kids.
Right.
A lot of people are younger, so they don't have kids, but I have 2 kids.
Right.
And I think that is great because so much of what progressive ideals espouse is so beneficial to families and children, yet it seems like the right wing or Republicans, they try to sort of
Wave the family
wave
flag.
the family, that's the perfect way to put it,
Right.
and act like they're the
Right.
ones
Right.
who hold up that position, but it's
Right.
like these are the ones who want to cut from funding
Cut
for
from funding.
kids to have, school lunches even. Don't even
That's
want to
right.
feed our kids.
That's right.
So like, give me a little bit of background in terms of like, why did you start that group? Did it have something to do with it like that?
Well, I just think I was fortunate. You know, again, I'm from the Bronx, and the Bronx is it's a progressive borough, you know, where it's really action-oriented, and our civil leaders, borough presidents and otherwise, you know, they're very active and very proud of, you know, some of the qualities. You know, being from the Bronx, you know, we try to instill the things that we find a sense of pride in. You know, and family is always a big thing, your family, your heritage, and I think that's why us as fathers, right? Here it goes, I'm tied together. Us as fathers, that's why our role is so important, because in a lot of ways, we kind of are the things that not only keep it going, right, by having kids, but then also connecting them back to lineage. So I wanted to make sure that fathers play an active role in the lives of their children and also have influence in schools. You know, be able to go to parent-teachers conferences and not just be an afterthought, but be a primary person, you know, to go and be around their kids, to go to after-school programs, and to let fathers know that the most important resource is time, you know?
Right.
You know, because as a dad, the kids don't just benefit, you benefit from being around your kids.
Yes.
So I just didn't want people to miss out on that.
Right, no, that's a great, that is a great point, because so much of, you have kids, you love your kids, you want to spend time with them, and, so much of, actually none of politics really talks about how you can spend more time with your kids. Like, things that are funded, when they do get funding, are about how they can provide some sort of care, not even, but like give kids something to do so you can work more.
So you can work more.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you know, I'm a lobbyist, right? In my day job, I do lobbying for education. And one of the things we do, we try to identify the leaders in our electorate, right, to fund things that help the children, help the community, access to education, you know, and that's why I think it's so important to have people in those roles who have education experience, such as Congressman Bowman, you know, who has an education experience of and understands the need for education and how education plays such a high role. And I think that real life experience is one of the things I like about the Congressman, just if we could. I just think, you know, having that real life experience of actually being out in the community and then being in a role in Washington, I think having that kind of duality is what enables him to be so impactful.
Right, and it's perfect time to segue into it. Let's talk about Jamaal Bowman. I was going to ask you, what brings you out here for him, but it's clear as day to me.
Yeah.
It is extremely bizarre to see that, like, everything that makes a good politician, Jamaal Bowman, this background where he has this previous, he's not a career politician, he worked in education, we should want this. But here we are fighting to make sure he stays in office. It really seems like, as someone who's a lobbyist, does it make you feel like, the forces, the powers that be in DC are hearing what you're saying and then just not really responding to it sometimes?
Right. I think you bring up a good point, right? I mean, if you hear conversations from the other side, right? Their whole thing is to, not have career politicians in office, right? To have people who have real world experience. And this is what we have. And you see how much they're fighting to pull somebody like that out of office, right?
Unbelievable.
So it's against the message on that side. And then on our side, right? On the left side, on the progressive side, I think having someone who is, of the community. My first time meeting him was at a community event in the Bronx, for fathers, no less.
Right.
That was my first interaction. And then to see what he's done in Washington, to see his efforts. A good friend of mine actually recommended him to me because he knew he was a principal. And he said, this principal coming from the Bronx, I think he has a good shot. And I like what he's trying to do because he'll bring resources into the community. And I think, education is just such a, it's just something that could propel you so much. So to have people who are proponents of education in office are people who are trying to help the community grow. And I think that's like what we need.
Right. Have you previously, in your experience with your advocacy and your lobbying, have you worked with Congressman Bowman before?
I have. The president of Lehman College, he's in Bowman's district, so he's not only a client, he actually represents him, and he's done great work in helping us advocate for things that matter to our community base, and I salute him for that.
Has there been with educators in the district, have they come out to forcefully back Bowman in this race? Like, what has been the positioning on them?
Right. So I've seen it firsthand. He's from the Co-op City section of the Bronx, so that community has really come out and galvanized and supported him. As you know, through redistricting, he's losing some of his areas that were traditionally his, and that I think has been done to try to help kind of hurt his growth, but I think what you're finding is his positions in Mount Vernon and his positions in Westchester are just as strong, because I think what matters, the values that matter the most to the community matter at large, and I think that's what he does a great job representing.
Right. So at this point in the race, it seems like a lot of at least from reporting on Bowman's campaign and their strategy, at this point in the race, it seems like the strategy is to bring out his base.
Right.
Like it's going to be about turnout.
Right.
What have you seen as someone on the ground in these, the education world, in these communities? What have you seen?
Right. I mean, the base is always what you need, right?
Right.
I mean, that's a big part of what this thing is, turnout at every corner. But I think what's going to be to his benefit is being, even in this locality, he's going to have a higher voter turnout, and I think people will come out and support him. And it's just a matter of what we do, right? Getting the message out, making sure that we touch the people, and making sure that everybody that watches this feels encouraged and feels excited at their ability to influence and have a chance to be, make an impact at this turn. So I've seen the people come out. I've seen people support him. I've seen some local rappers come out. I've seen some, my son, shout out to him. I've seen some people in the community get together and start to, kind of push him and give him that push that he needs. And I think that's going to take him a long way, as we get closer to the finish line.
Right. So what is the future of sort of advocating for progressive family values, where we spend time with our kids, we promote diversity and inclusion and rights for all people, intersectionality. What does that future look like? Even regardless of what happens in this specific race, regardless of what happens in the presidential election. Obviously, if Trump wins, maybe that looks a little bit different in how we, recalibrate. But what does that future look like more broadly?
I love that question. That was a beautiful question. There's so much to unpack. That was so good. But I think that we are in a privileged point where we get to redefine what family is. And I think that when you see the conservative angle, they want to hold on to what they believe family was. And I think in this day and age, family is so many different things, and we have to embrace and represent and showcase families in all of those different phases. And I think, you see me, I brought my daughter with me. It's important to me. I think your kids should come and get a chance to see it. I own a consulting company, and you could bring your kids to work in my consulting company. And I think that's what we all should be able to do. And I think your kids have to see it, and you have to be able to show other people what family looks like in today's day and age. And I think nothing is going to stop families from growing. People that love each other are going to get together, and regardless of what people say family should look like, families are going to look like however they are. you know? So I
Right.
think what we have to do a better job is just celebrating it, you know?
Right.
I think that our ability to celebrate families and celebrate, you know, the interesting dynamics that they create, I think that's what's gonna be, you know, as people see that, the representation, as people get more comfortable with it, you know, I think that's what it'll lead to acceptance.
So what do you think it would take to sort of show people the connection here? Because I feel like there is a disparity between spending time, getting to spend time with your kids, supporting the family, not just monetarily, financially,
Right.
but supporting them by being there and being involved in their everyday.
That's right.
What do you think it will take to make people see the connection there between that and then the sort of American belief? It is really sort of something specific to the United States, where you must work all the time. Work, work, work. If you fail in that,
Right.
I mean, even like you look at other countries, it's like they truly value not even just their time off, but like maternity and paternity leave. They give new mothers and fathers long periods of time. It's even in like their laws requiring it. That's not even a thing here.
Right. Well, I mean, advocacy is important, right?
Right.
I mean, advocacy is important.
Right.
And that's why we've, in New York State, they've advocated and created a paternity time off that includes the male, right? The father.
Right.
So you can spend that time home with your kids that you need so that you could bond and you have that connection. And I think that's why it's important also, just from an advocacy standpoint, to make sure that you have those paid sick leave and make sure that you integrated into policy as a value of what's important, and whether that's, you know, extending, you know, women's rights in terms of what labor really looks like and what maternity really looks like, but also too just having family times. I bring my kids to work, like I just mentioned, but I also make sure that even what we had to do during COVID and how we all had to learn new hybrid schedules,
Right.
that, you know, I make it a point, even when I'm sitting down and interviewing for new contracts, that, you know, my kids are important to me, you
Right.
know, and it's going to be something that I'm going to integrate into my schedule, you know, and it seems most of the times that it's celebrated, you know, I'm fortunate it's celebrated. People are thankful to have the opportunity, and, you know, we have to live it, man, and we showcase it. Something like you just said earlier, you said, man, you know, I got 2 kids, and, you know, I have to show people what a family looks like today, you know,
Right.
and what a dad looks like, because, you know, we're cool.
Right.
And we smell good, and we hang out. You know, people might not associate that with that.
Right. People think of a very outdated idea of what like dad looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, they might not know you can wear nice shirts and,
Right.
you know, cool shorts. You know, it's like, nah, I'm a dad.
Yeah.
I have responsibilities. I just wear it well.
Right. It also helps that we both look young for.
That's right.
So what you know, you bring up these, and right away when you're talking, I think of a great example of like how we're sort of going backwards in certain areas on how important children are, in terms of what happens politically. In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams basically is diverting funding from all areas
Right.
to help fund the NYPD so they could stand around and play Candy Crush on their phones in the subways. To me, one of the most incredibly depressing, almost unbelievable thing that he did was, as an effect of that, the New York City libraries, public libraries, are closed on Sundays. I mean, I feel like people aren't fully connecting what that means to the kids of New York City. Like, the libraries, at least in New York, I've experienced with my own kids, is not just a place where kids go to read books when they have extra time. It is a significant part of their life. There are kids who can't go home to do their homework. There are kids who can't go home because no one's there. There are kids who need to go to the library to access a computer. How do we make people understand that these decisions matter? And you always hear in politics that everything's about the future of our country, about, you know, how children are raised and educated, yet people unwilling, they without realizing maybe sometimes they support politicians who in turn support policies that are very anti-children and anti-taking care of our young people.
Talk about it.
Yeah, how do we get people to see this discrepancy here where
Young people have to get involved in politics.
Right.
That's the answer. Younger people have to get involved. The voting base is larger for younger people 18 to 24 than it is than the base that votes the most, which is ages 55 and up. You know, understand? But the 55 and up, they vote more. So their policies, in turn, impact the people who are going to live the policies longer.
Right.
Wouldn't it be a wonderful world if the rules were made by the people who are going to live in it the longest?
Right, you would think. Right, you would think. You would think, I mean...
You actually get the opportunity to set forth a policy, an agenda that could benefit your whole livelihood. You know,
Right.
from 18 to 26, you get to come out and vote, and you can put in policies and put people in place that can help, you know, the rest of your whole life. You know, then you could see the policies all the way through. We only have 4 years, 8 if we're lucky of a president. You know, a mayor in New York, one time, it was just 2 terms. He flipped it to 3 because that's how good things were going, and then sent it back to 2 for everybody else.
Right, yeah. That's how good things were going for him, yeah.
Things were going for him. But not just him, but him and his base.
Right,
you know?
right.
And his base and the people who were able to, they planned out that 12 years. So I think in a lot of ways we have to educate and empower the generation, and that's the people we're talking to right now. They have
Right.
to be educated and empowered to see that, you know, whatever the misnomer is, whatever the lie is, whatever the theory that, you know, your vote doesn't matter, you know, you have to throw that out the window. And you have to at least try 4 years, 6 years, 8 years of what if the vote does matter?
Right.
You know, and everyone get together and see what we could put in the office. See, and as a story in Virginia Beach on how people didn't like when low-riding jeans came out, people didn't like, the community didn't like, because it was too many people walking around with thongs showing, and they voted against it. And I was like, I know that wasn't the average beachgoer.
Right,
That wasn't the average 18 to 26 or
Right.
18 to 35. I know they didn't do that.
Right.
You know, who
If
did that?
If they turned out that vote, there might have been a different vote, actually. A vote for even less.
Even less. We think it should be lower. So I think that is the power of being involved. And in the same breath, in New York State, marijuana is legal. And that was made possible by, you know, people who were getting in office that were younger and saw that the criminal justice system was targeting people and unfortunately causing more people to go into jail and spend more time in that system than it was benefiting.
Right.
So they were able to flip it, and now marijuana is not a crime, and now you don't have those minor offenses, and now you don't have people going to jail. You're not breaking up families for such a small thing. You understand?
Right,
And,
yeah.
and now you're seeing a much more enhanced quality of life, and I think, you know, that's the same to go to your point earlier about what does it do when you close libraries on a Sunday.
Right.
It's going to cause greater problems because now those kids who would go to the library on Sunday, now they have to do something else, which puts them outside and puts them in jail. Instead, they could be cultivating and educating themselves, which would then have later on effects. It wouldn't need as many police in the subway.
Right,
You know?
exactly. That's what I hope people connect. So to end things here, you know, as a lobbyist,
Right.
you've probably sat in rooms where, you know, you're trying to advocate for your position to help parents spend more time with their kids, and obviously there's going to be lobbyists who that fights against their hope to have more productivity in the workplace.
Right.
So you've seen the opposition.
Yes, sir.
So to people watching, what would you say to them in terms of how to fight against that? How to fight that fight to make sure that you can spend time with your kids? And if you don't have kids, you know, this is beneficial to you too, because less work means maybe you can find the time to go out and then get into a position where if you want kids, can have kids. That's or you know, you won't have to worry about childcare issues as much when you do have kids. Or even if you don't want kids, if you're watching this, you obviously care about the future of this country, and children are the future. So what would you say to them in terms of how to deal with the opposition as someone who's been there before?
I just think you have to prioritize your time. You know, I think prioritizing your time and prioritizing family and the values that are important to you, because I think you made a good point. It doesn't just go for your kids. It goes to prioritizing your values. You know, my value is family. I have 2 kids, you know, daughters. I have to prioritize that.
Right.
But, you know, whatever my value would be, whether that was expression, you know, being myself, whether that was representing my community, you know, I make sure that those values are always in the forefront. And, you know, those are, you know, that's the bridge that we use to connect.
Right.
And, you know, and it represents ourselves. That's why we're able to connect. And, you know what, we are future-oriented, and this matters. You know, no matter what different lifestyle we come from, no matter what background, ethnicity, we can all agree that the future matters. So if we can agree on that point, now that's the bridge bridge, we can transcend all other ideas. And so I just think it's important to, stay strong to your convictions, present them, and stand on them, because that's what we got.
Right. Marcus Payne, everyone. Marcus, why don't you
Marcus
let
Payne.
people know where they could find out more about you and your organization?
Yeah, look us up on Bronx Fathers on Instagram. That's Bronx Fathers Taking Action. Bronx Fathers, we were up there. Look up the Dad Gang. Those are my good peoples. I'm also Monsieur.Payne. I know it's a French name, but Monsieur.Payne. Look that up, and let's stay connected.
All right.
Great
Thanks a
time.
lot, Marcus.
Before we go, you introduced yourself to me as a rapper. Do you freestyle?
Oh, yeah, I could freestyle. What we want to talk about? We want to freestyle?
We get a little freestyle about young people getting into politics and to that kind of
Into this camera right
young
here?
people
Okay,
into politics.
there we
Cool,
go.
let's
Okay,
do this.
let's restart the camera. Restart. I know you was taping me that whole long time. All right. Here we go. Young people, this is for you. The whole reason to get involved, to help the problems get solved. We've been at a place for a long time. Now it's time to evolve. We get good people and make them congressmen. Hope it works together. Makes no promises. We have to work together in order to grow. Young people, it's up to you to impact a glow. Erupt. Matter of fact, let's construct. Whatever's going on, let's make the U-turn right now. Sometimes it gotta be abrupt. The taxes is crazy. Matter of fact, what's going on is happening, so it amazes me. All my people that we doing them from the Bronx, that's barely, but we hope to hit the whole world if they can embrace me. It's not just us, it's up to you. So in you we trust. Young people, it's up to us. My family unit, my values, I always represent it. And today I was just glad to present it. What's up, y'all?
Damn,
What's up, y'all?
wow.
Yeah, what's up, baby?
Our producer really put you on the
Shout out
spot,
to the
and you
producer.
pulled through with that.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
My brother always says I freestyle on the spot, so I don't know if he sent you the message.
That was awesome. All right, that was great.
Thank
What
you.
a perfect way to wrap up this stream. This is a Progressive Victory YouTube channel. Marcus Payne, everyone. I'm Matt Binder. We'll be here canvassing for Jamaal Bowman all weekend, and we'll be doing more streams. So stay tuned to the channel, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thank you.